form, how many free passes they give up helps to determine what the outcome will be. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Saturday. 16, I think, number today. So, a lot of good stuff again today. So, not much going on. Last night, my team won, luckily. So, tomorrow night is going to be a late night. Game 7 at 8 o'clock. So, tomorrow night's going to be a big night. I'll be up all night. Hey, Smith, you watched the game? What a game that was. The bench won it for them. So, I think they do what they did last night. They should be okay tomorrow. So Tigers are losing in the 10th inning. They got Toronto just one ahead in the 10th. We got a big series coming up. I think Monday. I think we got to play Cleveland. So those are going to be 4 big games. Big show yesterday. Did you get to watch the whole thing? SmackDown yesterday? It was, wow, over 300 we got on yesterday. Everybody's starting to find my channel. Everybody is hopefully finding. Oh, shoot. Looks like they're going to lose today. 3-1 now. They got to get all their players. The whole team's on the injured list. I did get my hoodie, my Michigan National Champion hoodie this week, so that was cool. I got that. Where's everybody at? I had to set it an hour ago. You're the first one in. Carol's got a church dinner, and hopefully everybody will start coming in. You know how I am with the time. I get different times every day, so. Did you hear the breaking news last night? Oh, Chico! Hold on. Stop. You've been doing good today, buddy. Stop. Hey. Will you stop? You don't need to bark. Leave the dog alone. Come on. Sit down. Dog that walks by every day, he's barking at. Settle down, he's gone. But so what do you think of the news on Tina Peterson last night? I'm gonna play Billy Johnson's video that covered Tina there. So Chico, that's enough. We got a Billy Bean too. I think it's almost a half hour, I think. Then Captain Kyle, I believe it might be a new one. He had normally they have a round table on Fridays. And I think that was last night, but the channel made noise, and I hope we'll be able to hear it. The static, so. I got a couple Canada news updates for you too. Our friends in Canada. A couple 3-minute ones, 2-minute ones. Well. It was probably someone showed up, Samantha. Lion Eagle. Kara has a church dinner tonight, so she won't be able to come in tonight. Chico. That's enough. Go ahead and get start the show, okay? Hey, time to relax, okay? All right. All right, I hear you. Huh? Well, relax. They're down to their last out here, so just winding down the end of the Tiger game here. Hope they get a home run. No, he wants ice cream, Jim. You gotta get him ice cream. Oh, darn it. They lost that one. They gave that one away. Darn it. We got to win all 4 games with Cleveland this coming week. Oh, good. Waiting on Lucy. Lucy had to do some work outside, I think. So hopefully she's getting everything set up ready. I told her what time I was coming on. That's enough, Chico. Ah, Chico. Hang on. Come here. Come here. Get on the couch. Get on the window. Come on. Come on. You want on the window? Come on. I want to start here in a minute. Okay? This is going to go on you if you don't behave. Okay, go. Relax. KK, where's KK? Calling KK. Hopefully Lucy will be in. Oh, wow. We missed something. I better play that after. I got a Sidney Powell video we haven't played. All right, hopefully Kay will be in here shortly. Everybody else, Terry and all the regular ones. We'll see. So the first one is the breaking news on Tina Peterson from last night.
Apparently, it's the secret to getting better.
This is Tina Peters. She's a 73-year-old mother and grandmother, comes from an incredible patriotic family in Colorado. She was an election observer and county clerk in the 2020 election, and she witnessed literal voter fraud in the horrifically run Colorado election, where the Secretary of State actually left the key card for all electronic voting machines open sourced. So anyone from anywhere could log in and change the results of the election. That's an absolute matter of fact. And Tina Peters called that out, blew the whistle, and was thrown in jail for it. Even though she had cancer, even though she may die any day, she was tossed in prison for 9 years. She's a 2020 election denier, CNN says. She faces 10 counts. And felony counts, influence, public service, blah, blah, blah. So they threw the book at her, at this beautiful patriotic grandmother. These Democrats, they're literal demons. President Trump has been a champion of Tina Peters for a long time. So have we on our program. We've had many members of Congress on, but Lauren Boebert's one that comes to mind, who's been a champion of this issue. And now we have incredible news to report for you, ladies and gentlemen. Tina Peters, 73-year-old with cancer, given a 9-year jail sentence because she caught Democrats cheating. Free Tina, says Donald Trump. He said this just last month. Free Tina, says President Trump just a few minutes ago. Well, it turns out that Trump did it. Tina Peters has been freed, or is about to be set free. Tina Peters is leaving jail with a clean record after the Colorado governor, a Democrat named Jared Polis, gave her clemency. Republican former election clerk imprisoned for crimes related to the efforts to overturn the 2020 election will receive clemency from Jared Polis, soon to be released from custody. Polis exclusively told CNN. Here we go. Oh, look at that. They still use election denier. This was published today, and they still are using the term election denier. What scum these people are. Tina Peters is going free. God bless President Trump. I spoke with Jared Polis about the decision he made to cut down Tina Peters' sentence so that she could be out of prison this month. He says it comes down to freedom of speech. Wow. Good for you. Tina Peters will be released from jail. She'll receive clemency from Jared Polis. Today's decision by Jared Polis to commute Tina Peters' sentence is a long overdue step towards justice. Tina Peters, a Gold Star mother who lost her Navy SEAL son in service to our nation, dedicated election integrity advocate and former Mesa clerk, was subjected to politically charged prosecution that resulted in a 9-year sentence. To make an example out of her, I'm proud of her, the relentless pursuit. And now it turns out this outcome would not have been possible without continued pressure from President Trump. And there's so many things you can do. You know, you can hold up federal funds. You can say you're not going to get this water right or that right or whatever. You know, you can do these kind of things when you control the federal bureaucracy. And senators are seething over this. Here's Colorado Senator Michael Bennett. No testosterone found in this guy. Look at this. I vehemently disagree with Jared Polis' decision to commute Tina Peters' sentence. She broke the law, undermined our elections, and was convicted by a jury of her peers. With Trump's continued to attack Colorado, we must stand strong. Institutions of shut up, dude. Thank you, Governor Polis. This from an account, Tina Peters. Allegedly, this is real Tina Peters. Let's see. Follows me. I'll follow right back. Hopefully, she can come on the show. Okay. I've faced many threats, so I want to be clear that I condemn any and all bullying, threats, or acts of violence, voters, county clerks, election workers, concerned citizens like myself. Upon release, I plan to do my best legal means to support election integrity and based on my own personal experience to elevate cause of prison reform to help ensure that the detention system is more fair and equitable. People of all ages, my experience has given me a perspective. Okay. I'm grateful for the second chance. Early release. Look forward to doing good in the world. She would have died in jail, most likely. And this is what these people plan on doing. Just in case you're wondering, like the people that are like, no, Kamala Harris would have been fine. This is what they were going to do to your grandmother, your wife, your mom. Oh, no, it'll be fine. I wish Kamala would have won. Shut up. Shut up. Do you realize by doing that, by saying that, by apologizing for supporting Donald Trump or whatever, that you are guaranteeing that Tina Peters dies in prison, among many other horrible crimes against humanity? Look at this. Prayers and pressure worked. Tina will immediately be freed. We finally won. Look at this.
President Trump needs more allies in Washington. That's why he endorsed Mike Rogers for U.S. Senate.
You must vote for Mike Rogers.
Rogers has Trump's
complete and total endorsement.
Mike Rogers for U.S. Senate.
Our wonderful Tina to come out of a jail, in a high-intensity jail, because she caught people cheating on an election, and they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She went over, she looked at one of the election scams going on, and because she did that, they put her in jail for 9 years. The governor of Colorado is a weak and pathetic man who was run by Tren de Aragua, the criminals from Venezuela, took over sections of Colorado. And he was afraid to do anything. But he puts Tina in jail for 9 years because she caught people cheating. And when she walked over and got involved in it, they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She caught people cheating on the election, 2020.
Good for you, Trump. President Trump, say whatever you want about him. This dude is like a dog with a bone. And when he's got your back, he's really got your back. And he's been fighting for Tina Peters. He's been fighting for Ashley Babbitt's family. Now it turns out that they're going to be probably paying people. They have something like a $1.7 billion fund that they're about to release to everybody who was threatened by the Biden administration in lawfare. So January 6th, Tina Peters, Ashley Babbitt, everybody who was attacked, like maybe Peter Navarro, Bannon, I don't know who it's going to be. But everybody who was threatened for lawfare from the Biden administration is going to get compensation. Restitution is what they call it legally. Governor Polis is slashing her prison sentence in half. He's releasing her on June 1st. They clearly violated her rights, locking her up the way they did while she was sick. Trump nailed it. She caught people cheating, and they gave her 9 years just for catching that massive, massive victory. Ladies and gentlemen, well done. Amen, says Mike Davis. Thank you, Governor of Colorado, for putting aside partisanship and correcting a miscarriage of justice. Tina Peters has suffered too much. A lot of people really don't like Jared Polis. All I know is that when he was a member of Congress, and he was a member of Congress, he was seen very much as like a middle of the road. He was a Democrat, but he was always seen as like some guy that you could do a deal with. And he did regularly join with Republicans and had a ton of Republican colleagues that really liked him. So Tina Peters being freed. Jared Polis commuted the sentence, allowing her to be freed. Free Tina.
Years in prison. And to be clear, she deserved to go to jail. She committed a crime. What's at issue here is how long the sentence is. And I agree with the appeals court that in the sentencing hearing, the judge incorrectly looked at and considered her bizarre viewpoints, her speech, and held her speech against her. She happens to be somebody that's espoused what I believe to be what anybody objectively.
Okay, so he says that the judge was a far left-wing sociopath and punished her. She said, what we've been saying, punished her because she held views that he didn't like. Yeah, Democrats punishing free speech in America. This is a beautiful thing. It's a glorious day. Praise God. Free Tina. Can't wait for her to be out of jail. She comes on her show first. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe.
So that was good news from last night. So this Sidney Powell video came out on the 10th, but I never saw it, so I don't know if anybody else has or not. We'll check it out. About 15. Then the next two will be a couple of Canada news.
Up their jackets, taking their shoes off, going home. We were the only.
What happened? I gotta redo it again.
Jackets, taking their shoes off, going home. We were the only ones offering him a means.
Anybody see this one?
An idea, a way of getting the courts to review the issue and decide whether the election should be overturned.
Yeah, but his trusted advisors were telling him, "Sir, you lost."
Right.
So I guess my question is, why in his mind was your credibility higher than theirs?
Because I didn't think he had lost. I thought there was a substantial possibility that he had won and that there was machine fraud that could be uncovered with the proper analysis, and that would be a solution, that he would still be in the White House.
So
they were off. I mean, it's like you said, look what I deal with all the time. They're not offering me anything. At least you guys have an idea.
are you convinced that he had won now?
Yeah. I think we have a big problem with machine fraud, and it cuts across party lines.
I never saw
And it's
this
been going
one.
on for 20 years, 23 to be exact, because Bush stole Ohio in 2004.
But
May 10th
you
was
conducted
out.
no independent investigation to get the scientific evidence that you would need to form that opinion.
Well, I'll be happy to show you all the expert affidavits and reports from the math guys who tell me it's absolutely impossible for the results to have come out the way they had. And there's a report just yesterday out of one of the states that there were 174,000 unregistered ballots, I think in Michigan, maybe.
The people who from everywhere who volunteer and just kind of send information to
I don't know the details of it, but yeah, I'm very concerned that the voters who, the real voters, whoever they are. I even found a patent where the Department of Defense back in 2005 funded a patent to inject false voters into the voter database and real-time monitor elections. And another one where they create an algorithm to predetermine the outcome of election.
What about the other Republican candidates on that same ballot that won?
They could have been fraud too. We don't know. Until we have paper ballots hand counted, nobody's going to know whether their votes are real or not. I'm convinced Bush stole Ohio in 2004, and he did it with the machines. There's a guy by the name of Clint Curtis, who was a Republican back in 2004 that the Republicans hired in Florida. He testified before a Senate committee, a Judiciary Committee with Jerry Nadler on it and Maxine Waters and a bunch of people back in 2004 doing a special hearing on the Ohio election. And he said he was hired by the Republicans to write an algorithm to flip votes for Bush. And I met him not long ago, and he said that's the 16,000 vote glitch that happened in Volusia County, Florida, back in 2004.
But you know about the hand recount here in Georgia.
Well, it's kind of like counting counterfeit bills. If you run the same bills through the same machine it's going to come out with the same results. People were telling me it was not an actual hand recount, that if you did a signature audit, it would show the fraud, but that if you just do whatever the standard recount is that they did, it wouldn't.
What people were telling you that?
Guys that understand how the machines work and the vote counts better than I do.
Weren't there people who would understand that a lot better than you and I telling you the opposite? Secretary of State, didn't he tell you the opposite? Didn't you hear him come out and debunk those things?
I know he said that.
So what would make the other people more believable than that Republican elected official?
Well, I hate to use one of Rudy's phrases, but it doesn't pass the prosecutor's smell test. There were too many things wrong. And of course, the government is going to defend itself. I mean, I really don't expect
8 minutes.
the governor or the Secretary of State or anybody, the president, the head of CISA, anybody else to come out and say, oh yeah, folks, we've been rigging elections in foreign countries for decades. We decided to do it at home. They're not gonna say that. And the harder Dominion fights against allowing.
Why would the Republican governor and the Republican Secretary of State rig an election in favor of the Democratic candidate for president?
I don't know. What if they're not supposed to be the governor and the Secretary of State? What if it was rigged for them to begin with? What if 2016 was rigged for Trump? The problem is we don't know as long as we have these blooming machines. I just want the votes of American citizens to count, whatever those votes are.
What about the governmental agencies that came out and said that this was the most secure election in American history?
Yeah.
You've seen those reports.
Yeah, Mr. Krebs.
So what do you say to that?
I don't believe him at all.
Yep, both sides.
Based on what evidence? Is it just?
No, it's the statistical and mathematical
Anybody see this one
impossibilities.
yet?
It's the affidavits.
But isn't he doing that same thing? He's looking
I
at
don't
data
think
and so you just think he's not doing it. He's just saying he's doing it, but he's not doing it.
I think there is a substantial government interest that we don't know about that's being protected by people in positions of power. And a lot of it is related to self-interest.
Self-interest, but these are the people that Donald Trump put into place.
That doesn't make a bit of difference to me.
Well, if it's self-interest, isn't it beneficial for him to keep the presidency?
It might have been. I don't know who's pulling the strings. I never have known who's pulling the strings. I just know I'm as sure as I'm sitting here, it's not the American people. It's not your vote. It's not your vote. It's not your vote. It's not your vote. Even the Dominion manual talks about how you can weight the votes. So Biden can get 1.25 and Trump can get 0.75. Or Kemp can get 1.25 and Stacey Abrams can get 0.75.
So what happens? I mean, what evidence do you have that says that Biden's votes weighed more than Donald Trump's votes?
The math guys can look at it and figure it out.
Is that the ASOG report?
No, that's a little one of it. But I'm talking about the PhD, Harvard and Stanford and MIT guys that understand algorithms that make my eyes roll.
That volunteered, that no one paid, that just showed up to.
Yeah, they're concerned about what happened.
You said before you didn't really understand those math algorithms in any deep extent. I think you just said they make your eyes roll. So are you just kind of taking it on faith that they prove what they say they prove? That and some common sense. I mean, an algorithm essentially works like a thermostat. You kick it in to raise it to a certain temperature, and then you make it stay within a range to come out the way you want it. Like the temperature set at 76, it'll go from 78 down to 74, but it kind of, constantly stays at 76. If they're doing it by injecting a pool of false voters into the voter database, and it's like having an extra deck of cards under the table that you deal from to, get the hand you want.
And so you're not sure who was pulling the strings, but whoever was pulling them wanted Trump to win in 2016, and then they wanted him to lose in 2020.
Assuming it's even the same people, we don't know. I mean, it could be different people. It could be Russians hacked to make Trump win. It could be Chinese hacked to make Biden win. I don't know.
But all these reports you're getting, you're sending to Trump, correct?
Not all of them.
Some of them.
We'll get you all the ones I sent.
Okay. And then on December 18th, he's receptive to that.
Yeah.
He's receptive enough to that where he says, hey, Sydney, I want to make you special counsel. Is that right?
Yeah, he ran that exercise with him. I couldn't tell you whether he really believed that was going to happen or not.
But it was brought up.
Yeah, 3 times. Everybody tells me we went upstairs to everybody has said we went upstairs to the residence. I remember Mark Meadows and Giuliani going to the left down a long corridor, probably to the Rose Garden, and I went out the closest door and went back to the hotel.
So as you sit here today, you don't remember what I would think would be one of the most important nights of your life. The president gonna make you special counsel.
I didn't believe it was going to happen. And I don't know, I'm one of those people who's never impressed by what job somebody holds. I don't get all gooey-eyed over movie stars. I don't get gooey-eyed over the president of the United States.
But this is something you've been focused on. This is your opportunity that you want to show the American people that there is voter fraud in this computers.
Right.
And the opportunity to do that comes up, and you don't remember how it ended.
Well, no, I remember it ended with Rudy and Mark going one direction, and I knew that was the end of it, aside from the fact Pat Cipollone had already told everybody, this was stunning, okay? I will remember this all my life. To have White House counsel tell the president of the United States, you can name her anything you want and nobody's going to pay any attention to it. I don't care who the president is. To have White House counsel say that, I find absolutely terrifying. I mean, who is the president?
Why were you convinced then that it wouldn't happen if he said that it would? Why were you so convinced?
Because Pat Cipollone was running the show more than Trump was. I saw that whenever I was around during the time Cipollone was around. He controlled everything Trump saw. I couldn't leave an article that I'd written with the president. It had to go through Pat Cipollone. It was really quite stunning.
Now tell me again what Pat Cipollone's position was.
White House counsel.
No, his position in terms of Donald Trump's, did he win or not?
Oh, no, he thought he had lost.
So if Pat Cipollone, who you just sort of told us that he ran the show, which would have meant he's his most trusted advisor. He told him that he lost. Remind me why he would have trusted your word over Pat Cipolloni's then?
Because I wasn't a member of the swamp.
Can you step outside for a second?
Yep. And I saw an avenue pursuant to which, if I was right, he would remain president. Excuse me.
Okay. Yeah, I just found. I got lucky. I'm glad I saw that. I got a couple 2-minute ones from Canada news.
That has some employees wearing body cameras over in British Columbia out west. Some grocers there have even put their meat counter under lock and key as grocery thefts now climb into the billions annually. Carts and bags full of stolen groceries.
It's a national issue. It's taking place right across the country.
A rise in five-finger discounts has Canadian grocery stores on high alert, using everything from body cameras on some staff to an increased number of security cams lining stores. Some grocers have even taken to placing their meat counter under lock and key.
Organized crime doesn't miss these opportunities.
Industry sources tell CTV News that thefts are being driven by a mix of economic pressure and increasingly organized retail crime. Grocery stores are reporting coordinated repeat thefts tied to criminal networks. The Retail Council of Canada has called retail crime a national crisis, with losses now approaching $10 billion annually across the grocery sector and growing. The RCMP in Richmond, BC say supermarket theft has doubled so far this year.
We have analysts, and when they see a spike like this, we have meetings every week.
In January, Ottawa police conducted Project Pantry at this downtown grocery store. Undercover officers charged a dozen people with 78 charges, with some thefts appearing to be coordinated.
Going to a car right away and giving that product to whoever's in the car in exchange for something.
Some self-checkout counters inside grocery stores are also being exploited.
Walmart in the States is pulling them out of a lot of their stores as we speak.
Just last August in Windsor, Ontario, more than $220,000 worth of beef was stolen from this parked tractor trailer. The large-scale heist, another example of a lucrative crime on the rise. There are differing opinions as to where some of the items like black market beef are ending up, though authorities believe that restaurants struggling to turn a profit are likely purchasing some of the stolen goods.
Okay, that's one there. I don't know where Kay's at.
Anything similar to this. And the only countries that have something close to it is China and Russia. It's called Bill C-22. Watch this. The article that you see above me is extremely important. And it's not for the reason you think it is. It's the people who wrote it. Above, the National Observer, they are an ultra pro-liberal publication. And even they're against it, and it gets much worse. So they said, kiss your online privacy goodbye with Bill C-22 Canada. The person who wrote it, Supriya, she was the former senior advisor to the Prime Minister, to Justin Trudeau, specializing in national security and foreign interference. She isn't some Joe Blow. She is, by every means imaginable, more red than the color of the shirt that I'm wearing. An ultra pro-liberal person that is warning you that your privacy goes out the window. But hang on, it gets worse. Successful entrepreneurs are already posting online saying my business with a run rate well into the 7 figures will be forced to exit Canada if this bill passes. That's just the reality. One of the greatest entrepreneurs in Canadian history, the co-founder of Shopify, Toby, said C-22 is looking like a huge mistake. It worries me a great deal. There's so much nonsense in there that it may well end up dealing a death blow to Canadian tech viability. In this company, you may never have heard of it before, but they have 100 million customers. They are based out of Canada. They said we won't be far behind if C22 passes. In its current state, VPNs would almost certainly require us to log identifying user data. Signal isn't headquartered in Canada, so they can just shut off Canadian servers. But RHQ is. We pay an ungodly amount of taxes to this corrupt government, and in return, they want to destroy the entire essence of our service to basically spy on its own citizens. Not happening. We'll move our HQ and our taxes elsewhere. And this was the death blow of it all that started everything. Signal, if you don't know what that is, it is an encrypted app. It is a non-profit. The majority of members of parliament, they use Signal. And they said they would pull out of Canada if they're made to comply with this new Bill C-22 lawful access bill. Meta, the owner of Facebook and Instagram, it literally says it turns them into spies for the government. US Congress literally warned that it violates American privacy rights. The European Court of Justice literally struck this down in 2014, and they said this is a disproportionate violation of fundamental rights. No Western country has ever gone this far. Mark Carney and the Liberals are turning our country into a surveillance state. Insane.
Okay, we all got a couple there for our candidate, Brent. Well, we thought we had just Sidney Powell. You guys, guess what other one I found? But let's do this. I got Jenna Ellis thing too now. A lot of good stuff coming out. Well, we're going to play a 9-minute one. I still got Billy Bean to play. Where is he? Oh. There it is. He just got on YouTube again.
Any moment. The system is set up and designed to do exactly this right here. An incentive-based society only if you participate. And the reason why credit unions are so important is because credit unions are owned by the people. They're not owned by Wall Street and the shareholders over there. No, they're owned by the people. So the infrastructure is already there. It's already broken up. It's already decentralized if you think about it. With over 143 members and 22,000 branches all across the U.S., a credit union makes sense. New state charters will return just enough money to the state to eliminate all property taxes. And just like I said, the system was designed to actually claw back, all of these assets, all of this hidden wealth. And it was designed for the power structure to be removed from the federal government and give it back to the people. This is where the Genius Bill Act was so important last year when it was passed, because it gave the abilities for credit unions to actually issue their own stable coins. And the most powerful part is that these credit unions will compete for customers. Okay. And the way they're going to do that is that they're not going to have fractional reserve lending like all of those banking cartels and what they do, right? Nah. The reason why they're not going to be doing fractional reserve banking is going to be 1-to-1, because if at 1-to-1, they can keep the maximum interest rate at 3%. Imagine getting 3% on your home loan, on your auto loan, even on your credit card. That's going to be insane. Because currently the banking cartel right now set and designed the system with fractional reserve lending to create a debt-based system, okay? And then they continue to print more and more money, right? And they fractionalize that, which causes the interest rate to go up. It was never meant to be paid off. And that's going to help expose the Federal Reserve Ponzi scheme, this banking cartel that have been continuously printing money from a debt-based system, getting to a point where it's $1 trillion a year just to pay an interest, and they're not making enough to pay that back. So what happens in a typical case? Well, they go through bankruptcy, right? Their assets are seized and they're sold off. And the proceeds from all of that is going to be returned back to we, the people. Again, the shareholders of the credit unions. And what's going to help expose the other side and put the nail in the coffin once everything starts to unravel, it's going to be the most suppressed physical metal asset out there, and that is silver. Silver is going to expose everything because there are over 350 paper contracts for each ounce of silver. There is not enough silver in the market physically to meet all of those contracts. And they have been telling us this since forever. Since in Hollywood, they have to show us, right? Karmic retribution, okay? They show us it in the movies or in TV shows. There's silver crosses, okay? They show it in Wizard of Oz with the silver slippers, okay? And we all know the Wizard of Oz had everything to do with the Federal Reserve, okay? Then you have, the werewolf with the silver bullet. It's going to end the Federal Reserve System that now we know it because they're the banking cartels. They're the ones that's in charge of everything with Wall Street. This is why the crime of 1873 is so important, because that was the time when they started manipulating silver, where they took it out of our hands. Because since the beginning of civilization, silver has always been the key element to disrupt all of these bankers. And once the price of silver continues to rise, it's going to hit a certain breaking point where no matter what, okay, the 350 plus paper contract, they're going to have to come due, y'all, okay? And at that certain price point that it hits, there's going to be a revaluation, a natural revaluation. Because you can only suppress the asset for so long until, man, everything comes due, man. Sorry, but not sorry, y'all. And there are people in this world that don't think that this is going to happen, but they're not in tune with what's going on in reality. And what I mean in reality, what's going on in the blockchain space, because tokenization is happening in real time. And as everything is being tokenized on the blockchain, you can't manipulate the system any further or any longer. This is why we're on the brink of introducing the new treasury dollar, the treasury dollar that is backed by all of this, real precious metals, real estate, derivative market, energy, and everything. Because again, everything is going to be tokenized. But with that being said, silver's true value will finally be revealed. And I believe the shocking scope to all of it is that all of this fake Fed money paper scheme that they got going on will clearly be evident for the world to see. It will expose everything. And that's how we're going to do it. Start with the Clarity Act. Once the Clarity Act goes through, then we get the credit union. Okay. Once we get the credit unions coming in and they create their own stable coins, 1-to-1 with the US dollar, that's not going to be fractionalized whenever they use it in DeFi. Okay. Very important when it comes to a regulated DeFi platform, okay? Whenever they do that, then it's going to be able to expose the real price of silver, because silver is going to bring that real value, and eventually it's just going to expose everything. This is why it's so important to know what you hold. Let's go.
Okay, that's his latest one. We finally heard from him in a while. So, Flying Eagle, I checked on Cindy Powell. We still got 2 clips to play. She wasn't finished. A 32-minute one and a 4-minute one. And then we got to do Janice Ellis clips. But after we do the next two Janet or Cindy Powell, we'll do Benny or Billy's video after the next 2. So we're going to be here a while. This is 32.
Yes, ma'am.
I knew there was a court order for Antrim. I didn't know whether there was a court order or not for Coffee County. And now I understand there was not a court order that authorized it, but I paid for it anyway. I was very concerned when I saw the possibility of information being posted online. I do know that election systems are important, and I consider, frankly, any kind of data like that confidential, which is why I intended to get court orders in the cases that I filed or leave it alone.
So the last question that I asked was, when did you realize that there was no legal right to that information out of Coffee County?
In the process of this lawsuit, I realized that there was no court order for Coffee County.
What lawsuit?
You're indicting me.
Oh, I see. So it wasn't until...
I didn't get any data from it. There are even text messages from Jim Penrose to Doug Logan saying they're not going to brief me on anything from it.
So it wasn't until this indictment, you found out that you were named in the indictment, that you realized that you didn't have a legal right to the information in Coffee County. Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
What was your response when I asked you a moment ago why you have been getting updates from Sullivan Strickland if you were done, if that was the understanding you were done?
Well, I think it was because they wanted money from me.
Was he emailing those same updates to the executive director? Or?
No. He was texting the same updates to Charles Bundren.
I want to pivot back to the December 18th meeting for a minute. So what other topics of conversation were there? Did you discuss the ASOG report with the president? Did you have other general discussions about Dominion with him?
At some point, I think I told him about what I call the Dominion effect. We had two witnesses independent of each other. In fact, one who didn't believe it when he heard me say it, that had done the math and realized that wherever Dominion was, there is a 5 to 6% increase in votes for Biden. And the first guy was, I think his last name was Teasley. And the second guy, I think, is an actuary in Austin who heard me say that whenever I said it. It may have been at the press conference. I don't remember that either. But he didn't believe it, went and did his own research and went, holy cow, she's right. And Dominion's response to that was to serve him with a 2-foot-high stack of documents that they had filed against me in the lawsuit in DC.
Okay, so he continued to be interested in the election machine frauds and Dominion specifically at that point.
Who, the president?
The president.
Yeah, I would say he was interested in it all along.
Okay, so even though there's that reporting that I think a month before he had muted and said, this is crazy, like he never told you, like, this is crazy, stop giving me this information.
No.
What sort of things was he saying in December 18th specifically?
Well, he knew all his instincts told him he had been defrauded, that the election was a big fraud.
And when you say his instincts, did he ever describe that in any way? Did he ever point to any kind of proof or evidence or anything he was getting from his other attorneys or experts?
Well, he talked about, seeing the vote totals roll backwards on the TV.
Meaning on election night.
Yeah. And the unbelievable spikes, how far ahead he was in different states at the time all the machines stopped counting and how
27.
it should have been impossible to make up that sort of vote difference
Big
without
news
some
on
kind of
these videos,
shenanigans.
so I'm glad I got those.
Just general instincts that something wasn't right here.
So I guess, and these are specifically conversations you had with him on
Everything's
December
coming out.
18th, or these
Like,
are
why do you go?
conversations that took place in these various phone calls, or both?
Not so much in the phone calls. It was mainly the first meeting where I probably talked about it more than anybody else did. And he was generally talking about how it was stolen from him. And then specifically December 18th.
Okay. And I think you had said before, his instincts were that he had lost, and, if it got to the point where he felt he didn't lose, or that he did not win, that he would, back out or bow.
No, his instinct was he had won.
Right. And so, but you had said before, if he got to the point where, the facts were telling him you've lost, he would then bow out. That was either what he said to you or the sense that you got.
Yeah, he said something very clearly to that effect.
Okay. But then on the 18th, the only real justification that he's giving you to why he's not bowing out is that his instincts tell him that he won.
That and the evidence that I'd showed him.
Ms. Powell, were you ever around when anyone told Donald Trump that he had lost the election?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, KK.
Pat Cipollone, Eric Hirschman, Derek Lyons, all thought he'd lost.
I just found this one and did tell us part 1 and 2.
So they're giving him, I guess, evidence as to.
Well, Billy will be
why
after this.
you lost.
Over.
What did they say? They just said you lost. Did they give him examples of? We know you lost because of X, Y, and Z.
I don't remember the X, Y, and Z. That's kind of that statement that they didn't think he'd won is what prompted the shouting match with General Flynn and Eric Hirschman. Because Flynn said, he said, you don't even believe he won. And they all kind of look at their shoes, and then, it's like fireworks go off.
Were you ever privy to a conversation between Donald Trump and
Carol has
Eastman?
church dinner tonight.
I don't know, Mr. Eastman.
What was President Trump's reaction when, I guess, this cadre of advisors would say you lost?
It was like, they would say that and then they'd walk out and he'd go, see, this is what I deal with all the time.
Okay.
The sense was that they were not helping him with his efforts to overturn the election. That's what he expressed.
They weren't helping. Yeah, correct.
What ultimate indication did President Trump give after you and Mr. Giuliani had your debate about how to access voting machines? Did he ever say,
He was specifically willing to appoint me special counsel. In fact, he looked over at Cipollone 3 different times and said, do I have the authority to name her special counsel? And Cipollone said, yes, you do. And then somebody said, well, she doesn't have a security clearance. So he looked at Cipollone and he said, do I have the authority to give her a security clearance? And Cipollone said, yes, you do. And then about the 3rd time we went through that scenario, Cipollone, I think, said, you can name her anything you want, Mr. President, and nobody's going to pay a bit of attention to it.
what was President Trump's sense of what you would do as special counsel?
I guess he assumed, and I would have thought that I would have looked at putting into effect a provision of 13848 that would have allowed the machines to be secured in 4 or 5 states or cities, and see about doing a bipartisan or military or whatever everybody agreed on review of the machines forensically.
How did you choose which states that you would target?
How would I have chosen that? By the ones where there were the most statistical anomalies or impossibilities, according to the experts.
Were you privy to a conversation between President Trump and Mark Meadows?
When?
Anytime.
Well, I'm sure Mark was saying something that night.
What was his position?
I'm trying to remember. I think his position was that it was all over and everybody needed to go home.
It was all over, meaning that Donald Trump had lost.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? So, Pat Cipollone thought he lost. Eric Hirschman thought he lost. What was the other guy's name?
Derek Lyons.
Derek Lyons thought he lost. Mark Meadows thought he lost. And so the president then decided that he was going to appoint you as a special counsel at that point, right? Or he wanted to do that?
Yeah.
And the only people in the meeting that were indicating that they think he didn't lose were you,
Him.
General Flynn, and him.
And Patrick Byrne and
Patrick
Emily
Byrne.
Neiman.
Okay.
Or that he might not have lost. Again, all of us were saying, I remember Mark Meadows saying, you can't show that anybody actually flipped a vote. And I said, well, that's why the forensics would be important, to know whether you can confirm if that actually happened or not. To me, it was as important to prove the legitimacy of Biden's election as it would be to prove the legitimacy of Trump's if he was elected, because the country doesn't need this division we've had for the last 3 years and all the doubts about it.
So you never got that, though?
I never got it.
But you needed the machines in whatever form to show that the votes would have been flipped.
That's what people kept saying.
Is that what you were saying?
No, I thought we had enough evidence to show it already.
But you wanted to get access to the machines?
Yeah, I wanted to show definitively if that's what it took, so we could all put it to rest.
Were you ever present or aware of any White House staffers telling the president that he had won the election?
I can't think of any. Okay. Unless, How
about any campaign staff other than if you consider Rudy Giuliani to become part of the campaign later on?
I wasn't present for campaign staff talking to him. I think there may have been some White House staffers that believed he won.
And who would that be?
Garrett Ziegler and whoever the other young man was that let us in that night.
That let you in. So when you left the meeting that night, was it your understanding that President Trump wanted you to become special counsel and ultimately wanted to implement executive order? Is it 13848?
My impression was he wanted me to be special counsel. We all knew it wasn't going to happen, and he was open to considering the implementation of 13848. And Mark Meadows and Rudy Giuliani left going one way, and I left going another. And I had no doubt seeing Mark and Rudy walking out one way together that it wasn't going to happen.
And I may have missed it, but who brought up the idea of special counsel?
I don't remember. I think it might have been Flynn and Patrick Byrne. Or Patrick Byrne.
And then Trump asked, hey, can I do this?
Yes.
So he caught on. He liked it.
Yes. He made a comment, well, no, they have an idea here, meaning me and Patrick Byrne and General Flynn and Emily, they have an idea here that would tell us something. And you guys, like this, you guys are offering me nothing.
Did you ever follow up about becoming special counsel?
I called Mark Meadows the next morning just to run it to ground and said, hey, when can I come pick up my badge and my key?
And what did Mr. Meadows say?
He essentially laughed. He said, it's not going to happen.
Did he give you a reason?
I already knew that. No, he didn't have to.
What was Mr. Meadows' role in the December 18th meeting?
I would say trying to diffuse some of the, lower the temperature in the room and try to make sure people were heard in a civil way.
So when the back and forths were happening, I guess between you and Rudy, and then between Flynn and Hirschman, Was Meadows taking sides? What was he weighing in one way or the other?
He thought, well, this is my impression because I can't remember his words. My impression was he thought everybody needed to pack up and go home. And I think somebody even said that to him. It might have been Flynn, about how, none of you are supporting the president. And
Wayne, welcome. First time in chat. Thanks for coming
just
in.
dawned on me, do I have an attorney-client privilege issue there? No.
Just be respectful. Okay. Thank you.
None of you are supporting the president, and we need to get to the bottom of what happened here. But that's what got Flynn's Irish dander up, I would say, is the fact that nobody seemed to want a complete resolution of it or to do anything to support the president.
What's your relationship now
with
Donald Trump?
I haven't talked to him since January of 2021. I think we had a very short, fun conversation to say Happy New Year and hope things go well, and that was it.
I want to just back up for 1 second and we'll keep going back and forth. How did Coffee County become like the county to go to? How did that become?
I'm glad I found this because didn't they say all this stuff was going to come out and everything? So these, whatever they're called. So I'm glad. I'm going to try to get everything in tonight. We got Janice Ellis part 1 and part 2, about 15 apiece, and then we still got Billy, and I still got a bunch of other stuff. So nothing's on tonight. My team won last night, so it'll be a late one tomorrow, game 7.
Of interest?
I really don't know. Apparently, from what emails I've seen and putting 2 and 2 together after the meeting that night, I think it's probably Coffee County that Rudy was talking about there. But to my recollection, he didn't mention the name of the county or even the state. He might have said Georgia, but I couldn't swear to that.
And why do you say that? Why do you say you think that's the county he's talking about?
Because
what about that county makes you think that?
Because he was talking about getting voluntary access. And then it's not long after that meeting that he's down here testifying in Georgia and talking to the legislators and the same people that wound up in what I call the Coffee County Caucus Group. And then they get permission, they think they have permission December 31st to go see the machines. Catherine Freeze is texting about it in those signal messages.
Do you know, or do you know what the results of the election in Coffee County were?
No, I don't even know.
Do you know whether it went for Trump or did it go for?
I think I heard it went for Trump.
Did it go for Trump in a significant majority?
I don't know.
Did Rudy mention Georgia there on December 18th in the White House?
I think he did, but I couldn't swear to it.
And in what relation did he mention Georgia?
To getting voluntary access to the machines there.
Mr. Reed had mentioned before that after the December 18th meeting, you had a number of phone calls with President Trump. Generally, can you give us the substance of those calls? I know you had mentioned the litigation, maybe updates on that. Did you continue to discuss the issues that you discussed in the Oval Office on December 18th? Either the executive order, being special counsel, Dominion voting machines?
Not that I remember. Do we have any idea how, and a conversation could have been with Mark Meadows, although I don't think so. I think it was with the president. But unless I had some new information, he was probably calling to find out if I had anything new that would help resolve the issues, but
okay. But suffice to say, you continued to have access to him after that meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the December 21st meeting with Phil Waldron and Mark Meadows and Rudy Giuliani that you went to?
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's the one where Rudy got really ugly.
Yeah, he's probably working. Hey.
Yep. And that went to foreign interference.
So how'd that meeting come about?
I know there were a group of Congress people going, I think that was the day, was that the day the Congress people were going for some kind of special meeting?
I can't remember.
Okay. There were a bunch of Congress people going in. I think Mark had asked me to come over for a meeting. I don't remember knowing who all was going to be there. I think I thought I was going to go to the big meeting with the Congress people, but I wound up being pulled off into the little meeting with Mark and Phil and Rudy and Catherine Fries.
Okay, what happened?
There was a big shouting match in which Rudy called me every name in the book. And I was the worst lawyer he'd ever seen in his life. There were no circumstances under which he'd work with me on anything. He called me a bitch and I don't know what all. And that's pretty much all I remember about that one.
And who did you go with? Did you go by yourself?
Yeah.
And was Phil Waldron already there?
Yes.
And was Rudy already there?
I think so.
And it was, so Mark Meadows, he's the one that contacted you and said, hey, come?
I think so.
So even a few days after December 18th, President's Chief of Staff is still reaching out to you about presumably the election?
If that was the 21st.
Okay.
Yep, appreciate it, Wayne.
I would have, I thought that was.
When does the movie go to end?
Were you and Mark Meadows, would you say you're friends?
I thought of him as a friend before all this. I still think of him as a friend, but I haven't had any contact with him.
Who else would you say?
Mark's from North Carolina. I'm a native of North Carolina. He was from my district.
And I got a
North
4
Carolina when
minute
he was in
one
Congress.
with her.
Who else would you think of as a friend? You've seen the indictment, the Georgia
Right.
indictment. That
Yeah.
named
Do we have a copy of it, Andy?
Yes. Who on that indictment would you think of as a friend?
I used to think of Bernie Carrick as a friend that disappeared. Okay. I don't know Chesbrough. I don't know Clark. I thought of Jenna Ellis as a friend until the same stuff with Rudy. I mean, she was like attached to Rudy's hip. I don't know Still. I don't know Lee. I don't know Harrison Prescott Floyd. I don't know Cootie or Cuddy. I only know Kathy Latham with respect to her being a plaintiff in our suit. I think I had a couple of group calls with the plaintiffs, but no one-on-one conversation with her that I remember. I don't know Misty Hampton. I know Scott Hall from the Alligator Hunt, and we just kept in touch.
Have you spoken with any of those people since the indictment?
No. I actually texted Scott Hall the day I was to be booked because I was going to ask him about a bond, but he didn't reply. And then once I saw my bond conditions, I understood why he hadn't answered me.
Okay, but nobody else on that list?
No.
Patrick Byrne.
Oh, you lost somebody. I'm sorry, Wayne.
Did he want to become a member or
Hold it.
a person on the board of Defending the Republic?
Yes.
Okay. And when did that discussion start taking place?
Maybe December.
And did it cut off at a certain point where you told him, hey, no, or did it keep on?
No, he actually was on the board for a while, and he became CEO essentially for a brief time.
When was that brief time?
That was, I think, April of 2021.
Okay. But in December of 2020, there was discussion about him joining the board.
I think so. It may have been later than that. Though, I mean, our board documents will show when Flynn got off and Patrick got on.
And were you talking or communicating with him in any way throughout December and early January?
I think I saw him several times.
Okay. And what were your conversations about when you saw him?
We were usually talking about the machine stuff. I mean, he's like one of the few people that was in the orbit that understood that, because he had Conan and Todd worked for Patrick.
Okay.
Where were you on January 6th?
In Asheville, North Carolina, probably sleeping most of the time.
Did you talk to President Trump on that day?
No.
Okay. Did you talk to anybody else in his orbit on that day?
We'd have to look at my phone records.
Okay.
Did you talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene?
I think she woke me up that morning.
You had a 20-minute phone call. Do you remember what that phone call was about?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Seems kind of out of the blue.
Well, we've talked different times.
Okay.
I talked to her at one point. She was thinking about being a plaintiff in one of the suits, but that morning it was probably, what the hell's going on? And, I'd told everybody that I needed to get the hell out of DC.
Why?
Because I didn't think any of it was a good idea. I knew they weren't putting out porta potties. I knew they were going to blockade the streets.
Who was going to blockade the streets?
I heard the mayor was, that they were going to blockade off the bridges, and anybody that wanted to come in would have to walk in. I just saw it as a really bad idea to have a rally over the end of the Trump presidency. I just wouldn't have encouraged people. In fact, I did. There's several people that had plans to come up that I told not to come, and they didn't come.
Were you in any of the meetings during the time that you were working with the campaign? Were you in any of the meetings where discussions came up of other ways to possibly get the election overturned?
Well, I can't say I worked with the campaign. I mean, there was really only that one very short meeting that everybody got up and walked out on that I was in that first time I went over to campaign headquarters. And the campaign people were talking about doing a couple of basic vanilla election contest suits in a couple of states. And that was all. It was clear to me they weren't prepared for anything. They'd apparently told the president, they had everything covered. They had lawyers all over the country to take care of whatever, and they weren't prepared for anything.
So you weren't privy to any conversations involving the planning of, let's say, the bright idea to attack the recount, have a recount in Georgia, or to get someone to call a special session, or
No,
you had never heard those ideas?
I wasn't present for any conversations about anything Rudy was planning to do. He would not have included me in that.
I want to go back and ask you a quick follow-up on a specific statement you made earlier when you were at Linwood's plantation to Motley, and
finish off with the last clip of
he took
Biden.
you aside and he said that Bernie Carrick wanted to express for you to quote unquote get back on the reservation.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. Is this a sentiment that Rudy Giuliani had expressed to you before that?
No.
Okay.
But I was sure it came directly from him.
Okay. So your understanding was that, Bernie Carrick was
Speaking
middlemaning.
Yeah.
And what did you take that to mean?
That they wanted me doing whatever Rudy told me to do.
What was Rudy telling you to do?
Well, that was never really clear, other than whatever it is he wanted to do.
What was his plan? I heard you say yours was the computers and the fraud. To your understanding, what was his plan?
Well, I think he had the plan to go talk to the legislators. He was wanting to talk about all the quote retail levels of fraud. I think I heard that he'd even taken the fraud claim out of a suit in Pennsylvania. He dropped it, which was going to get nobody anywhere. I mean, there's retail fraud in every election. So the only thing that would make a difference in quote overturning the election is if there was actual evidence of a significant fraud that would justify changing the result.
So is it
enforce the will of the voters, not to overturn it?
Is it fair to say that your interpretation of get back on the reservation is generally just fall in line, like start doing what we tell you to do?
Yeah. And I don't even really know what that was.
Other than the retail stuff, briefing Rudy about everything you're doing and doing whatever he said.
Right.
Okay.
And I wasn't interested in any kind of political solution to this. To me, the only way to validly have it addressed was to have the federal court system, number one, get the evidence and discovery in a way that would be legitimate to everyone and proceed through the court system. I'm an appellate lawyer. That's what I do.
And the interference order, well, going back to the order that you were working on at Tamale, the interference memo order.
The findings.
The findings.
Yeah.
Who did you submit those findings to or send those findings to?
I think I just gave them to the president that night. I don't know whether I left them there or not, but I had them with me.
Okay. The ones you've been working at Tamale?
Yeah.
You brought a hard copy to the White Oval office?
Right.
And gave it to the president?
Yeah. I don't know whether I can't say whether it got left there or not, but I remember taking it with me.
And those recommended seizing machines, voting machines?
I don't remember whether it had that recommendation in it. I mean, I can get you a copy of it.
Okay.
But I know it laid out the different things that appeared to me to be evidence of foreign interference in the election.
Why do you think he was so accepting of your theory and not accepting of the theories of the people who had opinions that ran counter to yours?
Can I just step out for a second? Okay.
Yep.
Well, you.
Okay, that's part 2. I got the last clip, 4 minutes. And then we'll get Billy Bean and then get back to the short videos.
The president had trust advisors that were with him who had told him that he had lost the election, right?
Right.
You're there too, along with Michael Flynn and with Patrick Byrne, right? And so rather than go to the people that have been around him, the trusted advisors, he instead went to you, right?
Right.
Why do you think he did that?
Because we were the only ones willing to support his effort to stay in the White House. I mean, everybody else was telling him to pack up and go.
Because he had lost.
Yes. Everybody else was convinced he had lost.
And before you left, you mentioned something about that being the only avenue for him to stay in the White House. What did you say?
As far as I saw.
Give us let's take about a 20-second powwow, and then
just one more quick question. Just kind of catch all, given what you know about this case, this investigation, the last 3 hours of questions we've asked, do you believe you have any communications, whether by email, text, signal, to other co-defendants, to anybody else involved in any of these areas that would be useful to our campaign?
To your trial, your case.
Feels like a campaign.
Yeah.
We've only talked about campaigns all night.
Let's go down the list.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any other communications with Donald Trump that haven't already been produced to say, did you have to produce documents to January 6th?
Yes.
Did you produce the communications you had with Donald Trump?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Including to Molly Michael.
Including who?
Any communications that you would have had with Molly Michael.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rudy Giuliani.
I don't remember, but we can get those.
Okay. Did you have any communications with Johnny Smith?
No.
Did you have any communications with Mark Meadows?
Yes, I think I had some text messages with Mark Meadows that we can produce.
Okay. And did you have any other communications with Mark Meadows?
Just a couple of phone calls.
Okay. You said before you did not know Kenneth Chesbrough?
I don't.
Chesbrough?
No.
Okay. So you did not have any communications with him?
No.
Okay. Jeffrey Clark?
No.
How about with Jenna Ellis?
She would have been copied on a number of emails.
Okay. Would those have been already produced?
I think so.
Okay.
Will you double check?
Do you have everything that January 6th got?
Yes, I think didn't I produce those to you?
You produce a lot of stuff. I think some of them.
I think
yeah, we'll go back over.
I think we produced our production to the January 6th committee.
And we'll go back over and also
Ray Stallings Smith.
There may be like an email to him about Lynn's case.
Thanks,
But
Michael.
not about this stuff.
Okay. If they exist, we can produce those.
Yeah.
Robert David Shealy.
No. There is one attorney-client privileged, maybe communication with him about not related to any of this previously.
Michael Roman.
No, I don't know him.
David James Schaefer.
I'll look.
Can't read that one. What does it say?
Sean Still.
Sean Still.
Don't know him.
Stephen Lee.
No.
Harrison Floyd.
No.
Travion Cutie.
No.
Kathy Latham.
Those would be with respect to the case we filed in Georgia.
Scott Hall.
We'll look.
And then you said you never spoke with Misty Hampton.
Right.
All right, give us a couple seconds.
Okay.
We'll just review our notes real quick and then come back.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's the first big interview there. Hopefully I can get Janice Ellis 2 parts. We'll be getting Billy Bean now, then we'll get to the short ones.
Time in Texas about 9 a.m. And thanks for like, subscribe, and share. So some of the things we'll cover. ISIS planned a mass killing at a U.S. base in Michigan. We have a concrete example of U.S. military retaliation. President Trump did not eat Chinese food. And Russia plans a hit on NATO and Europe. And it appears that the U.S. military's second wave Operation Sledgehammer could be imminent. So let's get started. We're going to begin with space weather. Yesterday we had a G2. Today it's a G1 from the solar wind, hitting the Earth at 1.5 million miles per hour. And we'll have a new moon tonight, dark skies, that could aid the U.S. military if they choose to strike Iran tonight. We could see auroras in the polar areas. And we continue to hear more information about the Super El Nino in the Pacific Ocean. Now, Space Weather YouTube site has an interesting paper about the effects of the ongoing pole shift on Earth.
Have a good one. Thanks for stopping
As
in.
I've put out many times, we do have a decreasing energy in our electromagnetic shield, and it is via the magnetic lines of energy on Earth that many animals and insects navigate. And because it's decreasing, it's causing problems with animals and insects. A new paper gives an example of the bogong moths losing "Where am I?" So that's going on. And of course, we have effects too on human health. Now, we've also had in the past 24 hours 2 large earthquakes, and it's believed, based on what Earth is receiving in terms of pressure and effects from space, that we could expect to see more large earthquakes. So we had a 6.7 in Japan yesterday and also a 6.2 in Indonesia. The one in Japan yesterday struck offshore but was felt in many of the Japanese islands. It was north of Tokyo and about 50 kilometers east of Ofanato City. It was felt, and the earthquake, 6.7, offshore, was about 31 miles deep, but the impact on the Japanese islands was enough to stop trains and take their power off grid, according to the report by Mary Greeley. And so we have earthquakes coming. And we have this, that, so we have the FBI and the U.S. military foiled a major ISIS plot for a mass killing, mass casualty event on a U.S. Army base located in Michigan. And this was foiled by undercover agents working with a Somali American who is affiliated with ISIS, who then provided drone maps of the base near Detroit, and
that's an hour.
Also trained the undercover agents in how to use armor-piercing ammo, how to make Molotov cocktails, and so on, and gave them specific information of where to hit on the base, with hitting specific buildings to increase a mass kill event. So that's going on. And Saeed, Mohammed Saeed, the 19-year-old, had formerly been a member of the Michigan National Guard. He went through basic training but failed in his completion of that program. So he had been on the base. And we had the U.S. military retaliation taking place last night against ISIS. About a year ago, we had 2 U.S. soldiers and a translator killed in Syria. And this is good to know. The U.S. military will not quit until they have brought about retaliation anytime U.S. military soldiers are killed. So last night, President Trump authorized a hit by the U.S. military on an ISIS base in Nigeria. And the U.S. military confirmed they had taken out the leader plus about 50 ISIS fighters. And toward that end, recently in August, about a month ago, we had a training operation going on in Africa, in Morocco, where 2 U.S. military soldiers disappeared.
Tired of sifting through jobs that don't feel like the right fit? Introducing Indeed Career Scout. Find the job that's right for you.
When life takes a turn, you can't stand still, because understanding is always the first.
The U.S. military continued to search and found the remains of the male soldier in the ocean near Morocco and recovered the body of the female soldier in an ocean cave in that same area. Oh, you didn't know that the U.S. military can track by DNA? Yes, so that's going on. So those soldiers' bodies were recovered. If foul play was involved, the U.S. military will retaliate in the future. And more on that Michigan ISIS operation, that the Somali American, 19 years old, Amar Mohammed Saeed, yes, had been well trained, it appears, by ISIS. It was an ISIS undercover sleeper cell individual. So that's been thwarted by both the FBI and the U.S. military. He has been arrested. He was arrested May 13th. So that's going on. We have this information coming out from Israeli Professor Bernstein, as shown on Fox News recently, that China is now attempting to get its oil from Iran using alternative routes, mostly across Pakistan. We have this from Ward Carroll. The Navy has decided that aviators cannot command amphibious ships for the U.S. military. Instead, they're going to use surface commanders. We have also, regarding the El Nino and the Pacific Ocean from Mike from around the world, that the impact on our upcoming hurricane season could be devastating. We not only have rising ocean temperatures in the Pacific, but we have much less polar melting, mitigating the impact of this ocean water temperature rise. The Pacific Ocean is now at a temperature 4 times higher than has been previously seen in history. And the effect on the next coming hurricane season, with the Pacific Ocean warming, less polar melting, could be enough to cripple ocean shipping. So that's going on. And we have this from 2CTV, that in the UK, we know the Labour Party lost 1,400 seats in a recent election, which means that Keir Starmer, the current prime minister, really is not in command. It's not backed by their system. He's being asked to resign. So that's going on. And we have this from Lay's Real Talk about
20
China.
minutes, 20 minutes.
That we have President Trump and President Xi's meeting this week, talking about what really went on. And Lay's Real Talk brings out this new information that President Trump and President Xi had a 1.5-hour private meeting. And the only individuals present in the meeting were President Trump, President Xi, and Xi's daughter, who received her undergraduate and master's from Harvard, who acted as the translator. And it's believed they discussed some things revolving around Xi's hold on power and Xi's health. So that's going on. And we have this from Enforcer. So we have that Russia yesterday was sending planes around the Middle East to evac Russian citizens from both the UAE and also in Africa, specifically Somalia, where it's speculated that with this next U.S. military operation against Iran, we could see the Somali pirates and the Houthis in Yemen trying to block the Red Sea. So Russia evac'd Russian citizens from several areas inside Iran and also from Middle Eastern nations, including UAE, and also from Somalia. And it also, we have going on between Israel and Iran's proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon, that President Trump brought about an extension of the ceasefire for another 45 days. And we have the UAE building an alternate shipping route using a pipeline to its port near Oman, trying to decrease their need for the Strait of Hormuz. It's believed the U.S. military second Operation Sledgehammer is imminent, as when President Trump returned from his trip to China yesterday, he rejected what the Iran says are their beginning peace requirements, which included the U.S. military, the U.S. surrendering to Iran, the U.S. paying reparations to Iran, the U.S. Releasing frozen money and bank accounts for Iran, and for the U.S. to acknowledge that Iran is in control of the Strait of Hormuz and other unacceptable points. And it was publicly stated during President Trump's trip to China that both the U.S. and China believe that Iran cannot have a nuke and that Iran does not control the Strait of Hormuz. We have this coming out from Enforcer regarding Russia and Ukraine.
Call 1-800-HANSONS. Get it done.
Nick? When life knocks you down, it helps to know someone's in your corner. At Blue Cross.
Last night, Ukraine hit 15. An oil plant and chemical plant inside Russia, and that Russia, it's being reported, accidentally hit inside Russia. It's a Russian apartment building with its own S-400, an air defense weapon. And that drones were seen near Moscow, launched by Ukraine into Russia. And that Ukraine also hit last night a Russian corvette, a ship, and disabled it. We have this coming from Ukraine intel that Russia preps to hit Kiev. And it's believed this is coming from several points. One, that the Russian people and certain segments of the Russian military want President Putin to juice up the Russian military attacks on Ukraine and wrap it up. And it's being put forth that Belarus also may enter with Russia to hit Ukraine from the north. So that's going on. We have this intel from Best and Taylor that the Russian government yesterday approved President Putin hitting European nations, including Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And we have, within the past 48 hours, seen in Latvia both the Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense resigning because certain groups inside Latvia did not approve of the way that Latvia did not strike Russia when Russian drones came into Latvia. That happened this week. You have this from Canadian Prepper. Russia preps to hit NATO and Europe, and that Russia plans to use hypersonic missiles, including the Sarmat 2 and Oreshniks, on the command and control centers in Kiev. That would be the government buildings. And also in Kamchatka. Now, Kamchatka is located, so we have Alaska and then Kamchatka on the eastern side of Russia. So it's being put forth that in Kamchatka, Russia is putting drone nets on its nuclear subs. It's believed that Russia believes NATO may hit Kamchatka, and that Ukraine believes Russia will hit Kiev. I expect to see massive hits by Russia on Ukraine. I expect to see Russia also taking areas I had previously predicted they would take, including Transnistria in Moldova, and also the Suwalki Gap that borders Poland and Lithuania. I believe we could see that happen this week or so, and I predicted that Russia would make these moves when the U.S. withdrew from NATO. And what we're seeing right now is the U.S. In the process of withdrawing from NATO. So that's going on. And we have this. Russia yesterday put forth a bill in their government okaying Russia annexing Transnistria, which is a part of the Moldova, not a NATO nation, that borders Ukraine. So that's going on. And President Putin will travel to China to meet with President Xi in 5 days. We have this coming out. Now, President Trump has said, and the American people are strongly opposed to the U.S. membership in NATO, the UN, any globalist organization. But we recently saw with our own lying eyes that NATO and Europe did not support America in their first hit on Iran. And the U.S. is trying to prevent Iran from having nukes to protect both America and the world. But we saw NATO and Europe turning against the U.S. by not allowing the U.S. to use its own military bases in Europe to hit Iran. Well, what you put out goes around. And now President Trump is immediately withdrawing 5,000 troops from Germany. And in the past 48 hours, stopped a normal deployment to Poland of 4,200 U.S. military soldiers who were actively in the process of deployment. This has blindsided Poland. It appears Poland planned to use the U.S. military to fight Russia on its eastern border. So, no, the U.S., the American people do not support NATO, nor will they send the U.S. military to protect Europe against Russia, because NATO and Europe failed to step up to the home plate to support the U.S. in our recent hit on Iran. So that's going on. We have this from Pete Garose. Now, what's going on with Cuba? So we have more details about the CIA Director John Ratcliffe going to Cuba, I believe that was Thursday, to take an arrest warrant for Raul Castro, the brother of Fidel Castro. Now, Raul Castro is 94 years old, and it appears 30 years ago,
a new era of American shipbuilding is here.
With Whoop, start improving your fitness from day one with real-time and
there were Cuban Americans, three brothers who were flying 3 planes to Cuba to bring in humanitarian aid. The CIA has on video and audio a recording of Raul Castro, who was then Minister of Defense, giving the order for the Cuban military to shoot down those planes. And that's the basis of the arrest warrant. It is speculated that CIA Director John Ratcliffe talked with Raul Castro. You have several choices here. We can arrest you and put you on trial. We have the evidence against you. Or Cuba can capitulate to the U.S. It appears that Cuba may be in the process of capitulating. We have this regarding China, that when President Trump returned from his China trip yesterday, he put a hold on the billions of dollars of weapons order to Taiwan. And we have this from China Observer. While President Trump was in China, he did not drink or eat anything offered to him by China. Instead, even at meetings or dinners, the Secret Service provided, including the plates and silverware and glasses. The Secret Service also provided everything that President Trump drank or ate. He did not eat the Chinese food. And when the U.S. was preparing to return to the U.S., all of the gifts given to President Trump, his group, the CEOs, the press, and so on, that everything given to the U.S. by China was collected and burned. And before the U.S. went to China, They told everyone to leave all of their electronic devices at home, their laptops, cell phones, and so on. When the group arrived in China, they were issued U.S. government burner phones and laptops. And they were then, when the U.S. was leaving, they collected all the Chinese gifts, plus they collected all of the U.S. burner phones and laptops and burned them. And I learned something new, that even a charging station can be used to obtain data and also put malware on electronic devices. And we have this. There were 3 dust-ups between the U.S. Secret Service, the U.S. press, and the CCP police. They all happened May 14, which would have been Thursday. And Thursday is when President Trump had the private meeting with Xi and Xi's daughter. So on Thursday, we had in the morning,
Okay, let me know how it was.
just before the bilateral meeting, Chinese reporters storming the hotel to the extent that they knocked down Secret Service agents. We had then a dust-up at the Temple of Heaven, where there was a fist fight between the Secret Service and CCP police. The CCP police tried to disarm Secret Service, but the Secret Service won the fist fight, and then they went in with their guns inside the Temple of Heaven to accompany President Trump to protect him. The fistfight between Secret Service and CCP police held up President Trump and President Xi going into the Temple of Heaven for about 30 minutes. And then we had the CCP police also trying to separate the U.S. press at the Temple of Heaven. The U.S. press then stormed the CCP police and managed to then reconnect with President Trump and the motorcade to get their ride back to the hotel. So we see China, the CCP police, the Chinese press, and so on, acting like monsters, buffoons, or certainly not in being professional in interacting with both Secret Service and the U.S. media. So this concludes my update. Look for Russia, look for the U.S., I believe, this week to begin a second, and we understand it will be many times more massive, the second wave under Operation Sledgehammer for the U.S. military to hit Iran. And we're hearing that Iran is out of money and they can't pay the mercenaries they brought in from Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, and that they're running out of food and cannot even feed the mercenaries. And that Iran is now trying to arm certain segments of Iranian people, primarily those directly associated with the IRGC. Look for this week also Russia to increase massive hits on Ukraine. Look for Russia to also make hits, it's believed, against Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and for Russia to annex Transnistria, a part of Moldova. Now, we could also see Belarus mounting an attack on Ukraine from the north. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, world peace, and world health. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, Billy Bean today. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to Janice Ellis. I'm going to stick to our regular short videos. Everything we got, at least we got Cindy Powell. So we got the first one on our favorite. She only got one out right now. Oh. I don't know if I'll play that or not. Short one here.
You know, in 2015, a film producer, a small film producer named David Omby, told the police station that he had made a small corn SNUFF video featuring Elon Omar and Hakeem Jeffries and a Rottweiler. At the end of this film, where they were doing what they do on corn videos as hard as they could, they ended up unaliving the Rottweiler on film, and he sold these films as SNUFF films. So the FBI interviewed this man pretty hard and strong, because this is a horrible allegation. He just come forward, okay? So they asked him, where was this filmed? He said it was his home, but it had burned down, so he didn't have the film anymore. He just wanted to come forward and contribute and let everybody know what kind of people we have in Congress. So the FBI questioned him quite a lot. They found out, number one, he was not a film producer. Number two, he had been nowhere near Elon or Hakeem in 2015. Number three, his house had never been burnt down, right? But that was still in the files. Sound familiar, liberals? See how easy a stupid-ass lying story can get spread like wildfire? Everything I just said was made up. Nobody went to the FBI. None of that happened. Absolutely none of it. There's no such man as David Omby. I just made all that up. But I can get on here on social media and I can put that out here. Well, I can't. But y'all can. Y'all can just make shit up and then y'all share it, and all your one connected by one pod brain that's real small, but y'all all connected to it. Y'all spread it. Y'all believe it. Y'all pant. Y'all think about unaliving the president. Y'all go ballistically crazy. Ain't not ne'er one of y'all got sense enough to stop and listen to some of this shit y'all are spreading and go, well, you know what? Some of this is just so far-fetched. I mean, this person, they couldn't even validate this person's claim. And I don't like this man because he's orange and he says bad things sometimes, even though I'm the one that's constantly wishing he was unalive and cheering on Charlie Kirk. He says bad things. He said Rosie O'Donnell's fat, so he's a ratophile. He devoured children at a dinner one time. Y'all see how ignorant you sound? We don't have the time, us conservatives. We just don't have the time to get on here and make shit up and spread it. We too busy working, okay? So I just wanted to say, I saw a video this morning of a girl going literally fucking insane, crazy, screaming about he's eating the children, he's eating the children. Y'all still on that? Y'all still on that? Ain't y'all got the Ayatollah to go praise? Ain't you got the Islamic regime to go support? Y'all are nothing but a bunch of motherfuckers. Good afternoon, everybody.
Okay, only one so far. The first Q video.
Omar is getting dangerously close to being out altogether. I don't think that she's going to be able to stick around much longer. I know many of you guys are skeptical of that, but we're starting to see the people on the left withdraw from her and even calling for her to step down. Now, we've seen this happen a few times before. Go back to people like Joe Biden when they all decided to start turning and pulling support from him. Go back to Eric Swalwell. Once the party starts to turn against someone, it is not long before that person is out. And this is mainly because I told you guys about Amy Brock last week. Now, she's now been convicted. They called her the mastermind of the Feeding Our Future fraud. The fraud in which they collected or stole $250 million from the American people, from you, claiming that they were feeding starving children. I mean, but come on, who of us doesn't want to feed kids? I mean, so they drew on our heartstrings. But not only did Ilhan Omar support this, now we know from an interview done from behind bars by Amy Brock, who says, I'm not going down for this on my own, not when someone's sitting in Congress and they were benefiting from this. But we go back and we look at many, many interviews that Ilhan Omar did, claiming that the Safari restaurant was feeding thousands of kids every single day. 5,000 kids, 25,000 kids, claiming that there were 21,000 Minnesota children being fed every day during COVID, people who would be starving, who were relying on school meals and school lunches. I mean, now my frustration with that is we paid thousands and thousands of dollars per family in SNAP benefits, we found out while the shutdown was taking place. So please explain to me, if we are giving families thousands of dollars to feed their kids, why are there so many kids that are going hungry during the summer? Could it be because that money's not actually making it to the grocery stores? We'll talk about that another day. But then in addition to that, Amy Brock says there were several times that they were getting close to, or even the date had ended to continue the food program through the USDA. And Ilhan Omar had to go and work overtime to get enough votes to extend it. On multiple occasions, the program had sunsetted, and Ilhan Omar single-handedly went and whipped the votes in order to get it going again. So the fraud could have been shut in half or even more had Ilhan Omar not pushed in order to keep it going. But she worked tirelessly to ensure that they would continue to get the money coming in, continue to get things rolling in for the party. And I believe that we will find very quickly that Ilhan Omar was financially benefiting, and her party was financially benefiting through her campaign from this fraud and a lot of other fraud. We know that the evidence is there. It just all needs to be tied together. But the Democrats know this also, because now they are wanting her to step down in order to try to keep their own selves clean. But we're not letting anybody get off the hook. JD Vance is after this. He is on it. And I hope that he will continue bird dogging this, because there's a huge there, and we want justice. Let me know what you guys think about this. Comment below.
Okay, first cue. Got a 2-minute one coming up next.
That was my best impression of a lobotomized person. I just don't know how much more evidence y'all need. I mean, I'm coming forward as a survivor, telling you guys that my dad invented online pizza ordering, which you can fact check all of this. You can search Brian Cups and Cyber Slice. You will find that he was the vice president of technology and the co-founder, and that Steve Jobs placed the first online pizza order with Cyber Slice. And all of this was used to traffic children. It was used to exploit me, because my father would do that to lure clients in. I was trafficked to Steve Jobs, to many of his business associates. Even my grandma can tell you about how my thumb was red as a child, and my twin sister's was too. And coincidentally, my twin sister also came forward at 14 years old to CPS and to detectives and said that my father had assaulted us as children. And I would bite my thumb so hard to prevent his associates and himself from sticking stuff in my mouth. And my grandma asked my mom why my thumb was red, and my mom lied about it and then said it was from me being in the hospital and that my twin sister wanted her thumb to look like mine. So My grandma had suspicions throughout my childhood that there was something not right. But I mean, my grandma lived in another state and I hardly ever saw her. In fact, I don't even really remember the times that she would come to visit because I was so young. And then my mom and her had a falling out. And even my grandma can tell you too about how my dad would say that he worked for the CIA and how he had told my mom that he worked for the CIA. So my mom would tell her mom about this. If you're tired of hearing me talk about this, imagine how tired I am of talking about it. Imagine how tired I am of talking about it because
this is an
FBI,
important one to
police,
hear.
and CPS won't remove my brother from the home and refuse to help me, despite me having mounts and mounts of evidence. Even my sister, my half-sister, when she was 3 years old, she's 3 years older than me, was taken to the doctor when my parents received custody of her because her was red and torn. And my dad blamed it on his ex-wife, but it wasn't his ex-wife, it was him. I was as young as 4 years old when my dad and his business associates started assaulting me. And it could have been younger than 4, but that is the memories that I have of the trauma beginning.
Okay. 3 minutes on the next one.
While in Canada last week, disgraced former President Barack Hussein Obama, aka Barry Soetoro, formally asked Prime Minister Mark Carney for political asylum in Canada, his latest stop in a global sojourn to find refuge from Trump's military and Department of Justice. As we've reported innumerable times, white hats have fruitlessly hunted Obama since early 2021. Each time they thought they'd caught him, the target turned out to be a body double or clone. Of all the deep state prey white hats have pursued, Obama has been the most elusive, an ethereal gossamer able to simultaneously appear at multiple places across the globe. As Obama shook hands with Carney in Toronto on May 8, he was also addressing a class of 2026 high school graduates at a Chicago high school. Perplexingly, legacy media, which includes Fox News, never addressed how Obama concurrently surfaced in Chicago and Toronto. One of the two, or possibly both, was a clone or lookalike, according to a source at U.S. Army Cyber Command, ARCYBER, who told Real Raw News that the military's premier intelligence agency had intercepted a phone conversation between Carney and Prime Minister of Spain Pedro Sánchez Pérez Castellón on May 10. On the call, Carney told Pérez Castellón that Obama had approached him for help in evading dragnets cast by the U.S. military and Justice Department. He also told Pérez Castellón that, according to Obama, Trump's walls of injustice were closing around him and that, without aid, it was only a matter of time before Barack disappears, or Barack dies of natural causes, became headline news. Per our ARCYBER source, Carney favored approving Obama's request but had cautioned the Dark Lord to seek sanctuary farther away, as Canada was too close to home and within striking distance of Trump's forces. Should they discover his whereabouts in Canada, Carney warned Obama, they could easily and stealthily penetrate the border and drag his unconscious body back home. Obama's response: he understood the obstacles but had planned for all possible contingencies. Allegedly, Obama had already requested and received asylum and promises of non-extradition from 4 other countries: Poland, Ukraine, New Zealand, and Kenya, the latter his true birthplace. On Carney's call with Prime Minister Pérez Castellón, his voice was trembling with fear. He said he'd probably grant Obama asylum, but he was also wary what would happen if President Trump found out Canada's harboring a fugitive. He's elusive. He can't hide forever, our source said. In closing, our source conceded that ARCYBER is unsure which Obama the real deal or a double met with Carney. Clones are a facsimile of the real deal, and body imposters are well trained to mimic his appearance and mannerisms. The only way to know with 100% certainty is to examine his feet and genitals, or lack thereof. As we've reported in the past, white hats have exposed Hollywood actors masquerading as Obama at public events, including Star Trek, Voyager actor Tim Russ. We have no corporate advertisers, nor billionaire philanthropists looking to support efforts to expose the deep state's evil agenda. Every donation, irrespective of the amount, is appreciated and helps ensure our survival in these perilous times. We need to pull $2,600 to cover May expenses, and we appreciate any help that comes our way. Please do not give your hard-earned money to sites or channels that...
Okay, Real Raw News update. Short one.
Deaths at her homes. 200 and something violations. Oh, did I mention she's the Virginia state rep? She's a Democrat. Did I mention she oversaw the program for Medicare fraud or funding? I said that wrong. She oversaw the whole Medicare program, the whole funding. She was on the committee. She bought multiple homes. She put them under the names of her family members. She brought in $42 million. Nobody ever looked at her. Why? Because she was on the committee. She was arrested for the crowd that says, I'll be happy if I see arrest. Otherwise, nothing's happening. Even our state representatives were involved in all of that fraud. She had transportation business. It wasn't just homes. She had multiple homes, transportation business. She was arrested, not indicted. They have the information. Her family members that she used, they're probably in trouble too. State representative Democrat. Yeah, that's what they're doing, bro. 42 million in.
Oh, another one that got caught. Next one's 5, and then we'll get a 9-minute mini video. They won't let me play that one. All right, we'll get to Benny's video. 9 minutes, I think.
I think we could all use a little reminder of the politically correct weakness and drivel that President Trump saved.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead.
The United States launched a targeted operation against that compound.
They did a lot of shooting and they did a lot of blasting, even not going through the front door. You know, you think you go through the door. If you're a normal person, you say, knock, knock, may I come in?
After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
He died like a dog.
But his death does not mark the end of our effort.
A beautiful dog. A talented dog.
We give thanks for the men who carried out this operation.
And I don't get any credit for this, but that's okay. I never do. But here we are.
May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
And I'm
Well,
writing
it's
a
7
book.
o'clock, guys.
I wrote 12 books. All did very well.
It happened again. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It happened again. President Trump absolutely yeeting from the face of this earth the number one ISIS leader in the world. And this was in Nigeria. This happened in the small hours of the evening last night while we were all sleeping. This is what the American military can do to you if you effed around. You will indeed find out. There it is. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, to the number one ISIS leader on earth. Here we go. Trump says Abu Bilal al-Manuki, second in command of ISIS. Who cares? Who cares about the pronunciation of his name? Who cares? He's dead. Second in command of ISIS, killed in U.S.-Nigerian operation. Trump says the mission was flawlessly executed and thanked the Nigerian government for their cooperation in the operation. Oh, yeah. President Trump announced late Friday that the Nigerian forces helped carry out an operation that killed a global ISIS leader. Let's go ahead and look here. Tonight at my direction, brave American forces and the armed forces of Nigeria flawlessly executed a meticulously planned and very complex mission to eliminate the most active terrorist in the world from the battlefield. He is the second in command of ISIS globally. He thought he could hide in Africa, but little did he know we have sources who kept us informed on what he was doing. He will no longer terrorize the people of Africa or help plan operations to target Americans. With his removal, ISIS global operation is greatly diminished. Thank you, the government of Nigeria, for your partnership in this operation. God bless America, President Donald Trump. Boom. Trump also thanked the Nigerian government for their cooperation with the mission. In Saturday morning, Expo Secretary of War Pete Hegseth confirmed U.S. forces coordinated with Nigeria and the ISIS leaders. And these are the people, by the way, who are killing Christians in mass in Nigeria. It's completely and totally evil. Nigeria, majority Christian nation. And this is where the wholesale and complete slaughter of Christians are taking place because of ISIS and because of Muslim terrorists in this country. Here it is, U.S. Africa Command. I think another just strong move by the administration on the heels of what they did in China, just to show who is actually the battle master, warlord of the earth. He will no longer terrorize the people of Africa or mass slaughter Christians. Good. Let this be the fate, of course, of every single Muslim terrorist. Let's read Hegseth. This is from the early hours of the morning, 4 a.m. this morning. He posted this. U.S. forces, in coordination with armed forces of Nigeria, killed Abu Bilal Maminki and other ISIS leaders in November 2025. Trump declared to the world, we will help protect Christians in Nigeria, and instructed the Department of War to prepare for action. So for months, we've been hunting top ISIS leaders in Nigeria who were killing Christians, and we killed him and his entire posse. In conjunction with Nigeria's president and at the direction of the U.S. Africa Command, oversaw the precise operation to remove this terrorist. He was a senior ISIS general directorate of the provinces of Emir and a number 2 for ISIS globally, responsible for overseeing the planning of attacks, directing hostage-taking, and managing financial operations. The removal of him and other ISIS personnel makes America safer, further degrading ISIS's ability to plan and carry out attacks on homeland, American citizens, and innocent civilians. Operations like last night's demonstrates exceptional lethality, patience, skill. U.S. forces amplified alongside willing, capable partners to address shared threats. This should serve as a reminder that we will hunt down those who wish to harm Americans, innocent Christians, wherever they are. What is it like to have an administration that actually cares about the mass slaughter of Christians? That's a nice thing. Haven't heard about that ever from any administration. It is a wonderful thing to see. Again, are we a Christian nation? Like, does America even exist without Christianity? Of course not. You can't separate the two. We are a Christian nation. Christ is king. This nation doesn't work. This nation can't be formed. None of our documents, laws, none of the powers that bind this nation together works without Christianity. Everything from freedom of speech to freedom of religion to freedom of movement, thought, all of it, private property based on Christendom and Christian principles. And so we should be protecting those if we protect anything in the world. But unfortunately, people like George W. Bush, Barack Obama, are far more concerned with political correctness. And actually it led to, like, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan led to the decimation of some of the most ancient Christian populations in the world. U.S. military has released epic footage of the yeeting, the wiping from the face of the earth, the number 2 in command. I love that they released the footage, by the way. It's always like it's such like a throw the gauntlet down. Like, we're not, I mean, you just kind of remember this isn't normal, right? When they were nuking the drug boats and said, it's not normal for us to like see these operations happen. The military doesn't release the footage. They just tell you what happened. This is like, it's a sign. They're throwing the gauntlet down. President Trump, Secretary of War, and our brave troops are making America successful and safe by executing ISIS terrorists. Serve as a warning. If you murder and persecute Christians, the United States military will find you. Very good. Trump taking out another ISIS leader.
We have it in our sight. Fire. Boom. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, we have it in our sight. Fire. Boom. Ba, ba.
An all-timer. All-timer. President Trump just killed number 2 leader of ISIS. Mayor Mandami is asking for privacy during this difficult time. All right, very good. Everybody sounding off, dunking on this, and celebrating as you should as well. Ladies and gentlemen, an administration that protects innocents and Christians around the world. Be proud to support this administration. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe.
Finally, though, this next one's 9 minutes. It's that one lady that does the Bible thing. I can't remember. We played one, but I don't know if it's the same one or not. I tried playing it yesterday, but didn't have time.
So by now, the majority of us have heard that they are going to stage or fake an alien invasion using Project You Know What. And we've actually heard about this for quite some time, for many years now. So do I believe that they are going to stage or fake an alien invasion? Yes, I do. I believe that once the rapture of the church takes place, that's when all of this gets initiated. That's when all of this gets the green light, because they have to prevent the world from realizing that the biblical rapture of the bride of Christ just took place. And they're going to do this by adding in a lot of extra chaos, a lot of destruction. And here's where I differ from a lot of people, right? I think when a lot of people picture a staged alien invasion, Project You Know What, I think they picture like holograms in the sky, an obvious psyop. Just because it is staged or fake doesn't mean that they are not going to create real chaos, create real destruction, real death. I mean, look back, September 11th, 2001. Okay, that was staged. They need real chaos. This is when everything kicks off. When the restrainer from this earth is removed, evil will flood this world. And this is going to be that event that triggers the rest of tribulation. They need a very real, chaotic, destructive, humongous event that is going to create chaos, that is going to instill fear, that is going to distract all at once. So I believe that there will be very real entities. I believe that there will be very real weapons, DEW, used. I believe that there will be very real death, and all intended to distract from the biblical rapture of the church. All right, so just bear with me. Explaining how I see all of this can be difficult sometimes because there's so many layers. So Satan is playing good cop, bad cop. There's psyops within psyops. So all of this is bad cop. Current system, bad cop. Current administration, bad cop. One world order, bad cop. All of that will ultimately usher in good cops, right? The enlightened beings, the saviors, the ones who step in to save everybody. But of course, they are two sides to the same coin, two wings of the same bird. What they're eventually going to do is they're going to say that the ones who are responsible for all of this is the bad cop. They're going to expose the bad cop, the government, the ones who just want to control and enslave humanity, the religious people, right? Because the religious people are tied now to the government entities who are controlling all of this narrative, controlling all of these psyops. It's that entire system is going to, it's already, but it's going to be labeled as the bad cop, because the good cop will dismantle religion. He will dismantle all of this. He will dismantle those who have been trying to control humanity and enslave humanity. There was even a speech from Ronald Reagan years ago, and Bill Clinton on a late night show said the exact same thing, that the entire world would unite under a staged alien invasion. But here's where the enemy is clever. Here's where the layers come in. Here's where the psyop within a psyop comes into play. They are telling the world that they're going to do this, that it's staged, that it's a psyop, that it's just project you know what, intentionally. So when the rapture takes place, when this entire thing takes place, they know it's the bad cop. They know it's the government. They know that it's just another psyop. So that when the good cop steps out onto the scene, aka the man of sin, the son of perdition, the Antichrist, everyone will welcome him. But here's the thing again, in this event, there will be probably, my opinion, very real death, very real destruction, very real chaos, very real weapons used, just like they have always been doing. Because when you do that, you get the world in a position to even more desperately want a savior. You get the world in a position of needing somebody to rescue them from the bad cop. Like I said, y'all, there's so many layers to this. There are so many things that the enemy is doing all at once. So at the same time, he's also conditioning those who will be left behind, aka the lukewarm, to believe that aliens exist, to just get their feet wet in all of this, to prepare them for what is coming. So they believe that other entities can come down to the earth and that they are in fact real. And he's doing this by propping up Christians, right, who talk about their faith and also talk about aliens. So it becomes okay to accept aliens as a Christian. Now, what this will ultimately do, end game, right, is to get them.
Sorry about that one, you guys. I thought I played that one. Okay, we got the other guy will play. Sorry. Sorry about that.
2026. Hello, I'm John Michael Chambers, and this is your War Report. I ask you to listen with love, as where we go one, we go all. The following report is provided in part by Guardian, Daniel R. Secrets of the Third Eye, the Eye of Horus, beyond the Illuminati. Deep within the hidden corridors of ancient wisdom lies the extraordinary power of the third eye, a mystical gateway that grants perception far beyond the ordinary senses the global elite have fought to suppress for centuries. This inner vision, known as the Ajna Chakra, serves as the portal to higher realms of consciousness that the deep state desperately wants to keep locked away from the people. Pineal gland, often called the third eye, is a small endocrine gland in the center of the brain shaped like a pine cone. It produces melatonin and holds the key to clairvoyance, precognition, and spiritual visions.
We got three.
The cabal has waged war on it with fluoride and toxins to calcify this sacred organ, keeping humanity asleep for their control. The Eye of Horus stands as an ancient Egyptian symbol of protection and healing, linked to the goddess Wadjet, the protector who takes the form of a cobra, and the sky god Horus, depicted as a falcon. It tells of a mythic battle where Set gouged out Horus's eye, only for it to be restored. This eye symbolizes restoration and victory over darkness, mirroring the triumph of light over the satanic forces of today. Ancient scribes used the Eye of Horus in mathematics to represent fractions like 1/2 for the right side, 1/4 for the pupil, 1/8 for the eyebrow, and smaller portions down to 1/64, embedding sacred knowledge the Illuminati later stole. These powerful symbols appear across spiritual traditions. In Hinduism, the third eye connects to higher chakras. Taoist masters focus on the point between the eyebrows to align with universal energy. Christian mystics see it as a non-dual awareness leading to the mind of Christ. Theologians connect it to the pineal gland that ancient humans used as a true third eye before it atrophied under materialistic influences pushed by the dark entities. The all-seeing eye on the dollar bill and in elite symbols comes directly from the eye of Horus and Ra. The Illuminati flaunt their hijacked knowledge while suppressing it in the masses. But Q warriors are awakening their third eyes through detox and meditation, seeing through the lies of this matrix. So as this great awakening accelerates, patriots are reclaiming this divine power. Opening the third eye reveals auras, hidden truths, and the plans of the globalists. The restored eye brings protection and justice against the wicked cabal. Millions are decalcifying their pineal glands by rejecting poisons, signaling the end times for the new world order. This ancient wisdom spreads rapidly among those fighting tyranny. Higher consciousness becomes the ultimate weapon in spiritual warfare, allowing seers to expose and dismantle the deep state from within. The storm is here, and the light of the third eye will help guide humanity to victory. Join me and Wano Savin live
right.
for the Patriot Q&A Power Hour.
He does about 3 minutes, and he talks about his upcoming show.
If not more, saying that nothing happened in Iran, the site wasn't destructive, and you have the president, your commander-in-chief, saying the term obliterated. Obliterated in Oxford language just means total destruction. Total destruction. And we're talking about 14 now. The initial that I heard was 6. It's 14 30,000-pound bunker bombs that will penetrate under the ground. We used one of those in Afghanistan, just one alone, and it took out a mountain. 1. And 14 hit one location alone. And you people out there, whoever you are, I have to say you people because of whoever it is being negative Nancy and Debbie Downer and pessimistic Pam and all these others out there, whoever you are who's hearing this, you want to listen to every moving, flapping gong, but you never want to listen to veterans who know what's going on. Then you have the veterans out there who attack me, not a lot, but a few, because they don't know what's going on. It don't matter what you are. If you're a general, colonel, congressman, lawyer, whatever your title is, if you don't know what's currently invoked right now in the current laws and orders, you can be total oblivious to what's going on. Has nothing to do with anything just because you have a title to your name, a rank to your name. And it's misleading a lot of you. And a lot of you get all down in your feelings and everything, and then I have to go on a rattle trap spree here and pull you back in and say, what the heck are you doing to yourself? You're doing it to yourself. No one else is doing it to you but yourself because you want to go listen to everybody and anybody. And it's because, it may be 5 minutes long, not 3 hours like my podcast. This stuff, if America was as easy as a 5-minute fix, then why hasn't it been done before? See, that's why this stuff is a journey, not a destination. And yes, you did vote for it. You most certainly did vote for it. So all these people out there saying it's unconstitutional and it's not this and it's against the law and he's a dictator and all these other things, a lot of Republicans this past week and conservatives, guess what they look like? Liberals. All in the same boat, holding on to the same oar. Looking the same. And then what do liberals do? Liberals, they feed on that because look at all these Republicans, conservatives. Look how they're acting now. Now they're all out there saying, not our war, not our war. I didn't vote for this. Republicans and conservatives. All this past week, you have Candace Owens out there telling the military, don't obey unlawful orders. I mean, look at all the people. And look at all the people who follow these people. And it's all public law, what's going on right now. And it's all constitutional. If it weren't constitutional, it wouldn't be there. For one reason. And we're going to break that down.
Okay, I got 2 more.
President Trump's New Truth post about the operation is over. The patient lived. The patient is healing. Well, the patient he's talking about is United States of America, because, you know, a guy like me who's a retired veteran, all right, who went globally viral August 24, 2022. That was no mistake whatsoever. Also have my press credentials, DOD, etc. All right. So I've been telling you for the past 3 years that we've been in a military government, military occupation, special operation, unconventional warfare, clandestine operations, covert operations. It's all lawful. There's 4 ways that military pairs with federal. That's executive orders, treaties, proclamations, and national emergencies. That's why it's very important to know the 3 branches of government and how they operate. Article 1, your legislative branch. Article 2, your executive branch. And Article 3, your judicial branch. So all these things have played out right in front of you. Watch literally the Declaration of Independence happen right in front of you. You have literally watched a resetting of the foundation that is prescribed in the Declaration of Independence, where it says, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations. All right. So, you know, it's all part of the operation. And that operation is outlined on President Trump's ball cap that he put there. He put that there, that dash. He put the dash between 45 and 47. He did that April the 2nd, 2023. So see how all these are correlating? And April the 2nd this year, he said, was our Liberation Day. All right. And now he's saying that the operation's over. Well, if you go look in history, all right, he had given you markers all along the way, and he said that Memorial Day 2025 was one of the big markers that we'll start celebrating. Well, Memorial Day this year is May 26th. All right. May 26th, 1783 was the day that our founders marked a celebration day called the Jubilee Day. All right. The end of the Revolutionary War. So, you know, that's why I told you from the get-go, I'm not going to tell you who not to listen to, but this is why it's very important for you moving forward to realize what you went through, what you've been through, what you've experienced, and then also, you know, to empower yourself. You know, there's so many people out there. We're in a social media world. They just want to be a name and a face. Most of them for the wrong reasons. Not all of them, but most of them for the wrong reasons. Just want to be a name and a face. But they don't know on the front side. They don't know on the front. They're not a problem solver. They don't have the IQ to, you know, I wouldn't say attain. They could attain it if they try, but they don't have the IQ to hold the capacity of what I've been holding and been telling everybody. That's why I have #1 best-selling books. Right now, this is just part 1, and this small part 2 is 596 pages that gets heavily into Title 10, Title 50, special operations, unconventional warfare, irregular warfare, clandestine operations, covert operations. It gets in depth like that, but it also outlines how they pull this off. All right, lawfully, ethically, morally, etc. All right. So again, some people know on the front, some don't. Some people have a good heart and they're, you know, they have good motives, but they're still not problem solvers on the front. And they end up regurgitating. But when they end up regurgitating, they end up leaving something out, or it's confusing to people. And then when it so
okay, one more. I think that was only 2 of them. Yep. There was only 2, I think, there. Sorry about that. 2 of them.
The old rules are being rewritten. The old snubs are being replayed. And suddenly, Marco Rubio has...
God dang it.
The old rules are being rewritten. The old snubs are being replayed. And suddenly, Marco Rubio has become the most mysterious man in Beijing. We are going inside those first high-stakes meetings where the deals are already starting to bake, and a nuclear standoff gets a surprisingly simple message. Do me a favor. Hit that like button if you're getting value out of the show. Subscribe if you're new. Welcome to the fold. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a headline. So the Chinese rolled out the red carpet for President Trump, literally. Big crowds, big ceremonies, smiling faces. You'd think Taylor Swift was landing in Beijing. Believe it or not, this is the first time a U.S. president has set foot in China in almost 10 years. The last guy to do it? Also Trump. Now, before that, it was Obama. And let's just say Beijing didn't exactly break out the welcome basket. The Chinese didn't even put up a staircase for Barack. He had to use the tiny backup stairs that Joe Biden always used, to sneak out the back of the plane, like a guy getting dropped off behind a restaurant. No red carpet, no big crowd, and a lukewarm reception at best. At one point, a Chinese official even got into a shouting match with Obama's staff and snapped, "This is our country. This is our airport." Different story this time. Trump lands, and suddenly it's hugs, handshakes, and enough red carpet to carpet a casino. People were smiling, the receptions were warm, and Marco Rubio practically had to come in undercover. Did you hear this? He was banned from entering the country back in 2020 after he criticized China for human rights abuses. Now, ahead of this trip, Trump had to order Xi to let him in. So China changed his name so he could bypass sanctions. And so for the next 48 hours, Rubio's name is Lou, Marco Lou. So far, no reports of Lou being deported. Trump also brought the heavy hitters, Pete Hegseth, Scott Bessent, Stephen Miller. The whole squad is there. And of course, the world's favorite billionaire is back, Elon Musk. He made the trip as well, and he brought a very special +1. Check out Little X stealing the show in the Great Hall of the People. Now, while most kids his age are stuck in front of an iPad watching cartoons, this kid is rubbing elbows with world leaders. Elon even posted on X that his son is already learning Mandarin. This is the difference between those who think a child is a burden versus those who perceive them as our future. So while the DC elite are busy worrying about their own pensions, Elon is making sure the next generation is ready to compete on the world stage. I mean, this kid is going to be negotiating trade deals while his peers are still trying to figure out their safe spaces. Meanwhile, JD Vance is holding down the fort in Washington, feeling like the kids whose friends went to Disneyland without him.
So as you know, the president just landed in China a few hours ago. I always, you may know that
names and the art of the deal hits.
Okay, one of our TikTok ladies.
He's very tired. I said, "Why are you so tired?" He said, "Because I'm working 24/7. He says, "We can't afford to hire any employees to work in our store, so I'm working all the time." I said, what does it cost to hire someone here? He says $20 an hour. He said many of the shops around here, the local shops, they're hiring undocumented workers and they're paying them $10 an hour. A California employee, $20 an hour, but an undocumented employee, $10 an hour. This is what's going on in California. As I've been around Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard, many shops are closed. They're actually just boarded up. Windows are boarded up. No one's in there because no one's coming out to shop anymore. And if you do own a shop, you have to pay your employees an incredible amount of money. In order for businesses to run, they have to hire these undocumented workers because they can pay them so cheaply. Therefore, it makes it really hard for people here in California to run a legal business and for Californians to actually get jobs. I just came out of the shop here on Hollywood Boulevard. And
hygiene lesson. She told us all that if you use meth, your teeth are going to rot out of your head. Then she said there's a lot of people in Los Angeles that don't have teeth. They don't have teeth because they used meth and their teeth rotted out of their head. And without teeth, you cannot succeed in life. She said, we need to get these people new teeth so that they can have a chance in life, so that these meth heads can succeed in life. And Karen Bass, who's going to pay for the teeth for the meth heads? Well, the taxpayers are going to pay for the teeth for the meth heads. I know a lot of people who never use meth who would like to get new teeth, but they can't because it is so dang expensive to go to the dentist and to get new teeth. But Karen Bass would just say, yeah, no problem. The taxpayers can pay for the meth heads to get teeth. Also, Karen Bass has another drug out there that starts with an F. If you use this drug, you're going to lose your teeth and you're going to lose your limbs. Should we help those people out too? Perhaps there's a better way to help the meth heads than giving them free teeth. Let me know your thoughts on this one.
Okay, next mom. Okay, we got an interview from the wrestler guy. Just a minute. This one is 8 minutes.
That's why
Yeah.
never afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. That's but they have to watch to critique.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the good thing.
One viewer at a time.
One view. Hey, it only takes if you can reach one angry person, and some people do it just to do it. You know, that's the one thing that I've taken a step back completely from social media. My social media now is just a billboard.
Really?
I've taken all personal stuff off, and I just with the AI stuff and the
This is a good interview.
The want for combative. It's not a debate. It's not someone like, hey, I heard what you said and I disagree. Here's why. You know, it's you're this, and this.
It's a bot.
Yes, and the worst thing is that my kids see the engagement, and then I'm telling them, hey, don't do that, but I'm doing it. So I was like, you know what? I'm off. Like, other than what you see of me on Fox and stuff, it's just that's it. And just step back and say, listen, you're not going to see Dad on his phone on the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, you got to lead by example. When I step off that plane, that thing's gone. You know,
That's awesome. I need to be able to do that. I'm not there yet, but I'm going to be.
Because and at first it's like, what did I? And I always if I don't watch the news at all when I'm home and I focus on spending time with my kids, when I come back Monday, there's plenty of time to get up to speed.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I can predict it. You know, like you're like, oh gee, who's going to be mad about this one? You know, and I also find that like I'm also more refreshed. I don't have as much fatigue.
That's really good.
Because
really
it's there all the time.
Yeah.
And then it also, you're talking about it with your family and they're like, we just want to go to a horse show.
Exactly.
You know, we don't want to hear about this and that and this and that. And I had to like, hey, I'm complaining about it on air, but then I'm bringing it home, you know, and my wife was like, no more. Like, no more.
When I covered the Pentagon, Jack McQuethy with ABC covered the Pentagon, and I traveled the world with him. And he said to me, Brett, I have one piece of advice. When you get home and you're hanging your jacket in the closet, hang your job there too and focus on your family. And I mean, it's easier said than done in 24-hour news, but he did it. And he unfortunately died in a ski accident a couple of years after that. And I always remembered I was at his funeral and his family said he was so engaged when he was home. And I went, man, he did. He hung the job up in the closet and spent time with his family full time. And I aspire to do that, you know?
And I think it's so important because when you're in the business where you're trying to, every day you go out there, you're trying to give the best factual information to the people as possible, which takes tremendous. I don't think people understand how much work goes into
Big crew and trucks with plenty to offer for whatever you get into.
Malcolm, keep playing, see what happens.
telling it,
about 4 minutes.
being a newsman, because if it was easy, people would still be doing it.
Right.
It's a lot easier. You don't have to study to give your opinion. You know, you don't grow as much when you're just shooting. Everyone can shoot off at the mouth.
Mhm.
And that has become I think it's almost an easy out for 24-hour news. I think we should cut it to 12. I really do, because it's just become one of those things where it's just not, the cycle is just, you got to get them to watch. You got to get them to watch. And that's not what the news was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was like it was there for you to know what's going on in your government, but
Yeah,
also
stirring the pot to get clicks and get
Yeah.
attention. If you build it, they will come. That's what we decided.
one of the and to focus back on the books, I know you got a million things to do. I love that you have on the inside. It's like, and I'm trying to like, and I'm like, wow, man, I remember when cursive writing was cool. You know, like
I don't even know if my kids can read cursive anymore.
Yeah,
they don't even teach it anymore.
I did a autograph signing with my daughter with our book we did together, and she was so excited to do her signature.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you can write some other stuff. She's like, it's a signature. You know, like, and because she's homeschooled, her and her mom, they do the handwriting. But like, if I would to my other kids who go to, if I wrote them a note in handwriting,
I know they would
be like, hey, I don't speak Spanish, Dad. I don't know what this is about.
need
You
a
know, I didn't know you
translation.
did either.
Yeah.
You know, what is this? You can't text me, you know? And, but I always say, hey, if the lights ever go out, you guys are done. You know, can you make a fire? Can you do that? You know, they're just looking at me like, I wouldn't have to. What do you mean, like done? Like Wi-Fi's out? You know, and it's like, oh boy. But I think, and the jury, I think you do make a strong case for this country. And like I said, I'm at chapter 4 right now. I will finish this and probably by the weekend. I always like, no matter what the book with you, it just, once you get in, it kind of brings you on a journey. And I like the fact that after each chapter, I've learned something. And as a guy who thinks he's pretty versed in things, it's nice to like now I'm obsessed. I'm like going down the rabbit hole of Lee. I want to know more about this guy. How did I miss him?
Okay.
You know, and I taught history in 3rd and 5th grade, and you get kind of a very like basic thing that you put out there. But I do think he should be talked about.
Totally.
You know, and especially
who knows? Maybe there's a movie about Henry Lee at some point.
I mean, he's a cool dude. He has
Just
mangled fingers from a hunting accident.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and I'm assuming the cosmetic surgery back then wasn't what it was today.
No.
So I'm sure it was gnarly, and
Yeah.
he's rubbing it because it's constantly hurt. And at the same time, he's standing up. And everyone, like I said, I wish when you read that book, I took a breath right after you said that, after that line, and it was a long time before the second, because once that was seconded and it got put on the thing for debate, there was no going back.
No, they had jumped off the pier.
You know, literally, and changed the course of all of our histories forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if this movement would have went the way it went had he not.
True.
Because it was about a 50-50 split in terms of we need to just reconcile with England, and just it's not worth it. We can't stand up to a military. They're going to hurt us financially. Like this, there was a lot of people like I have a good thing here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to throw that away on a whim, you know, and for him who had more to lose than anybody in terms of, well, he comes from a very affluent family. Like this was not a guy who was a bitter guy who didn't want to do work and was looking for a break.
Right.
He put it all on the table. And I think that's one of the most American things that have set the table. So thank you for bringing him to light. And I appreciate it. Again, I already got mine. I was right there. And then you blessed me with a copy afterwards. I'm going to ask you to sign this, but The Case for America is strong.
Thanks, man.
And you can pick it up where books sold at Amazon. It's already bestseller. It's killing it. I expect no less. But if you're looking, and this is a good read for the kids.
It is.
This is a good read to get. I got a couple of
Graduation gift.
Yeah. Well, actually, it'll be a punishment because I'll force them to read it with me. At first, you know, they always roll their eyes when I did it with Animal Farm.
Nice.
Or I handed everybody a copy.
Quiz them at the dinner table.
Yeah. Well, with being on the road, it's like FaceTime now. We get hook the FaceTimes up, and instead of watching a movie together, turn to chapter 3. Because the nice thing about this book is you can pick and choose.
Yeah.
There, you don't have to go front to back. You can Tarantino it and pick spots, but I'm hooked. Like I said, this I appreciate this. It's a great time for it. Right before, give us kind of an appreciation of what we have in this country going into midterm stuff. Maybe we'll start voting for substance, and what's best for you. And again, we're approaching our 250th anniversary, and I think you've captured it. This is an amazing book, and thank you so much for stopping by, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was okay. I hope for everybody. The last one I'm not sure of. I don't know how many people saw this one. It's going to be 15 minutes to be the last one. But I'll stop it if you guys don't want me to do the whole one. So, well, they're gonna let me know on this one. 3 o'clock tomorrow. I got the games on at 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
Year. November means 9th and December means 10th. Every single one of these names is wrong. You learnt these words before you could read.
Thanks,
You have
JJ.
used them every day of your life. They are not slightly off, not debatable, not open to interpretation. September is the 9th month, but its Latin root means 7. October is the 10th month, but octo means 8. Septem, octo, novum, decem are the Latin words for 7, 8, 9, 10. Those names belong to a calendar that no longer exists. Someone added months to the beginning of the year and pushed everything forward. That edit happened roughly 2,700 years ago, and we are still living inside it. That is not even the strange part of this story. The strange part is what was there before the edit, what was removed, and who benefits from you never asking about it. There are 13 full moons in a solar year. Not 12, 13.
Okay, good.
The lunar cycle, new moon to new moon,
Thanks,
takes
JJ.
approximately 29.5 days. Multiply that by 12, and you get 354 days. You are 11 days short of a year. But multiply 28 by 13, and you get 364. 1 day short. One single day that ancient cultures handled with a festival, a day outside of time, a reset before the new year began. The math is cleaner with 13. It has always been cleaner with 13. And humanity knew this for thousands of years before anyone intervened.
Okay, Jim.
In 1960, a Belgian
I hope that
archaeologist
played
named
this
Jean de
one, so
Heinzelin
hopefully this is
made a discovery on the shores of Lake Edward. The site sits on the border between Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The object was small, the Ishango bone, a baboon fibula, roughly the size of a pencil, with a sharp piece of quartz fixed to one end. Carved into its surface are 3 rows of grouped notches. It has been dated to approximately 20,000 years ago. That makes it one of the oldest mathematical artifacts ever found. Harvard archaeologist Alexander Marshak put the bone under a microscope and concluded the notches correspond to lunar cycles. 6 months of them. Ethno-mathematician Claudia Zaslavsky went further. She proposed the bone's creator was likely a woman tracking her menstrual cycle against the phases of the moon. The average menstrual cycle is 29.3 days. The lunar cycle is 29.5. In dozens of languages, the words for month and moon share the same root. The Gaelic words for menstruation and calculation are identical. Miosak and miosakan. The Romans literally called the measurement of time menstruation. This was not a metaphor, it was a description. Humanity's first act of counting may have been a woman watching the moon and marking the days between bleedings.
What do you guys think?
13 times
Good?
a year. For 20,000 years or more, that was how humans understood time. Not because someone told them to, because the sky told them to. Then Rome happened. The earliest Roman calendar, attributed to Romulus around 738 BCE, had only 10 months, 304 days. The year started in March and ended in December. Winter was simply uncounted. A blank space on the calendar where nothing officially happened. Around 713 BCE, Rome's second king, Numa Pompilius, decided to fill that gap. He added 2 new months, January and February, to the calendar. To get enough days, he shortened the existing 30-day months to 29. February was left with 28 because it was the month given over to the infernal gods. Even the Romans considered it cursed. But here is what matters about Numa's reform. He did not just add months. He created a system where the timing of additional months, called intercalations, was controlled exclusively by a board of priests called the pontifices. Their decisions about when to add time were kept secret. And Roman politicians quickly realized something. If you control the calendar, you control power. A consul could extend his own term by persuading the pontifices to add an intercalary month, or shorten a rival's term by having them skip one. Calendar manipulation became so corrupt that by the 1st century BCE, the Roman calendar was 3 full months out of alignment with the seasons. Harvest festivals happened before crops were taken in. Julius Caesar had to add 90 extra days to a single year, 46 BCE, just to reset the system. He called it the last year of confusion. But the confusion was not an accident. It was the residue of centuries of institutional calendar control. and the 12-month structure that emerged from Caesar's reform became the foundation we still use today. Nobody voted on it. Nobody studied alternatives. A dictator imposed it, and the world inherited it. Now, the fair counter-argument. The Gregorian calendar, the one you are using right now, is genuinely more accurate for tracking the solar year than anything that came before it. The Julian calendar drifted about one day every 128 years. The Gregorian system, introduced by Pope Gregory XIII in 1502, corrected that drift by adjusting the leap year rules. It works. Astronomically, it is elegant. I'm not arguing it fails at what it does. I'm asking a different question. Who decided that solar accuracy should override lunar alignment? Who decided that the relationship between humans and the moon, the oldest timekeeping relationship in human history, should be sacrificed for a system that serves institutions rather than biology? Because the Gregorian reform was not neutral. It was a deletion. On October 4, 1582, people in Catholic Europe went to bed on a Thursday. They woke up on Friday, October 15, 10 days erased, not gradually phased out, not adjusted over years, removed overnight by papal decree. Pope Gregory chose October specifically because it contained the fewest major Christian holidays. Workers did not know if they would be paid for the missing days. Contracts scheduled between October 5 and October 14 suddenly referenced dates that had never existed. And the Vatican's response was simple. Those days were never real. Protestant countries refused to comply. England held out until 1752, 170 years later, when Parliament finally adopted the Gregorian calendar. September 2nd was followed by September 14. The change affected wages, rents, military discharges, and prison sentences. Accounts from the period describe public outrage. The famous cry, "Give us back our 11 days," may be partly mythologized. But the sentiment was real. People understood instinctively that when someone edits your calendar, they are editing something more fundamental than dates. They are editing your experience of reality itself. If time can be rewritten by decree, what else can be? And yet, what happened next is the part almost nobody talks about. In 1902, a British railway accountant named Moses Cotsworth proposed something radical, a calendar with 13 months, each month exactly 28 days. Every date falling on the same weekday every year. The first of every month, always a Sunday. The extra month, placed between June and July, would be called Sol. One additional day at year's end, called the Year Day, would sit outside any month or week. A global holiday belonging to no one. Cotsworth was not a mystic. He was an accountant driven mad by a specific problem. Monthly financial reports at his railroad company were meaningless because months had different numbers of days and different distributions of weekdays. A hotel doing $10,000 per week in room sales would show lower revenue in May than April. Not because business declined, because May had fewer weekends that year. Think about what that means for every salaried worker alive today. You earn the same monthly paycheck, whether the month has 28 days or 31. That is a 10% swing in your daily rate of pay, and it always favors the employer. Your landlord charges identical rent for February and for March, despite March having 3 extra days. Quarterly financial comparisons are unreliable because quarters range from 90 to 92 days. The entire global economy runs on a unit of measurement, the month, that has no fixed size. We would never tolerate this in any other domain. Imagine a kilogram that weighed something different each time you placed it on a scale. That is what a month does to money. Cotsworth saw this clearly, and he wanted to fix it. His proposal gained powerful allies. George Eastman, founder of the Eastman Kodak Company, became obsessed with the idea. In 1928, Eastman adopted the 13-month calendar for Kodak's internal operations. Every financial period equal, every comparison clean, every payday predictable. Kodak employees carried pocket calendars with 13 months. Boardrooms displayed the fixed calendar on their walls. The system worked so well that Kodak used it for 61 years, until 1989. 57 years after Eastman's death. A Fortune 500 company ran on 13 months for more than half a century, and it worked better than 12. Eastman did not stop at Kodak. He and Cotsworth wrote to more than 1,000 businesses. They opened the International Fixed Calendar League, headquartered at Kodak's offices in Rochester, New York. Sir Sanford Fleming, the man who invented standard time zones, became its first president. The League of Nations reviewed 130 calendar proposals from around the world. They ranked Cotsworth's 13-month system as the best. It went to a vote. and religious leaders organized to destroy it. Rabbi Joseph Hertz argued that year day, which belonged to no week, would create an 8-day week once per year. This would disrupt the perpetual 7-day Sabbath cycle. The opposition was fierce, coordinated, and effective. The proposal failed. After Eastman died in 1932, the League of Nations continued discussing reform but could not reach consensus. Then came Hitler. Then came World War II.
5 minutes.
The League dissolved. No international body has seriously considered calendar reform since. 13 months came within one vote of becoming the global standard. Then it was buried. Not by logic, not by evidence, by institutional resistance from organizations whose authority is structured around the calendar as it exists.
Thank
I
you.
want to be honest about something. I sat with this
Lamar,
research for a long time before writing.
can't see.
The reason is simple.
Yeah,
The mainstream explanation
you're-
for why we use
you were
12 months
another
is
night,
not
right?
stupid. Solar calendars are more practical
Appreciate
for
it.
agriculture in many climates. The Gregorian system does
Not-
not
not till
require constant
tomorrow or
adjustment the way
Monday.
lunar-solar calendars do. If you need to know when to plant crops at a specific latitude, the
Appreciate it.
sun matters more than the moon.
Support my channel.
I understand why solar calendars won. What I cannot explain is why 13 had to become feared in the process. The word triskaidekaphobia,
what
fear of
state
the
you
number
were from.
13, was first documented in 1910. But scholars who have searched for ancient evidence of 13 being considered unlucky have found none. The association with the Last Supper, 13 people at the table, appears to be a medieval invention. The Norse myth about Loki as the 13th guest at a banquet does not appear in the original source texts the way it is commonly told. Buildings skip the 13th floor, airlines skip row 13. Streets in London, including Fleet Street, Park Lane and Oxford Street, have no number 13. In 1882, a Civil War veteran named William Fowler founded the 13 Club in New York City. 13 members met on the 13th of every month in room 13 of the Knickerbocker Cottage. They walked under ladders. They mocked the superstition. The inaugural dinner was at 8:13 p.m. on Friday, January 13, 1882. The cruel irony is that the club's publicity may have spread the very fear it tried to debunk. But where did the fear originate? One theory connects it directly to calendars. 12 is considered complete. 12 months, 12 hours, 12 zodiac signs, 12 apostles. 13 breaks the pattern. 13 suggests something was supposed to be there that someone removed. You do not fear a number without a reason. You fear it because somewhere, deep in cultural memory, 13 represented something that had to be suppressed. And here is what keeps pulling me back. Ethiopia still uses 13 months. Right now, today. 12 months of 30 days each, plus a 13th month called Pagume, 5 days long, 6 in a leap year. Their system derives from the ancient Coptic calendar, which traces to Egypt. Their tourism slogan is, and I'm not making this up, 13 months of sunshine. Over 120 million people live on a 13-month calendar. Their leap year system is simpler than ours. Their months are uniform. Their year starts in September, which, under their reckoning, actually makes sense. They never adopted the Gregorian system. They were never colonized into it. And their calendar works. It has worked for centuries. When travelers land in Addis Ababa, their phones adjust the date automatically. The shift is disorienting. You step off a plane and you are suddenly 7 or 8 years younger. Not because Ethiopia miscounted, because they started from a different calculation of the same event and never let anyone overwrite their math. Ethiopia is not behind. Ethiopia refused to delete what we deleted. Think about what you were taught. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31. Except February. You needed a nursery rhyme to remember your own calendar. That should tell you something. A system designed for human use would not require a poem to decode. No child struggles to understand 13 times 28. Any child can grasp that. But 30, 31, 28, sometimes 29? That requires memorization. It requires a rhyme. It requires faith in a structure that resists intuition. Kodak proved equal months' work. The League of Nations ranked them best. Ethiopia runs on them today. The Ashango bone suggests humans counted in 13s for 20,000 years before anyone intervened. Your body still counts in cycles of roughly 28 days. The moon still completes 13 cycles every year. The biology has not changed. The astronomy has not changed. Only the calendar changed. And every time someone tried to change it back, the proposal was killed. Not by science, not by popular demand, by institutions whose power depends on controlling how we measure time. I find myself thinking about the pontifices, Rome's calendar priests, keeping their intercalation decisions secret, using time itself as a lever of political control. That was 2,700 years ago. The mechanisms have changed. The principle has not. Whoever controls the calendar controls what feels normal. And once something feels normal, no one questions it. We cannot name our months correctly. We cannot remember how many days they contain. We carry a nursery rhyme in our heads because the system is too irrational to memorize on its own, and we never ask why. That 20,000-year-old bone sits in a museum in Brussels. Its notches still line up with the moon. The sky still counts to 13. The only question is why we stop.
Oh, that's how it ended. Okay, I hope that was okay. I can't remember if I played that before, but I don't remember it. All right, so we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Till tomorrow at 3, go probably 3 to 6. Big game tomorrow night at 8. So thanks, Mods. Carol K. Carol had church tonight. Kim Lucy. And God bless everybody. Love all. Have a good rest of the weekend. And we'll see you about 3. And stay safe, stay strong, keep your faith. And there we go up. Signing off for another Intel Day, Saturday, 15, 16. Tomorrow's the 17th. And Chico and Dude. See you guys tomorrow, if not sooner. Yep. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.